I tell you what, I just want to have Lee's hair when I get grow older. How do you do that? I mean, some of us who are more follically challenged are, we actually are more aerodynamic. So, we cut through the wind. Some of you guys have great resistance. So, hey, it's great to be with you. It's great to be at EMP. It's wonderful to be with a third-year class because you all know everything, right? You've had all the speakers for 3 years. There's nothing I could possibly say that would help you today. So we'll just kind of piddle along through this stuff and see if maybe there's an idea in here somewhere. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I'll probably agree and disagree with some of your previous speakers because you see every speaker, and Cam and I get to see each other every once in a while, and I love what Cam presents. I love the way he presents it, the energy that he brings, the intellect that he brings, and his experience. But all of us are victims of our own experience to some degree. And we speak from that experience, right? Because that's what we know. And so today I'll be speaking a lot from my experience. And I'm going to shift gears because you've just learned so much about technically how to run your business. But you know what? It is all about you and how good you are. And if you're not very good, your business isn't going to be very good. It's really simple stuff. I think life is pretty simple. And when Cam asked me a little while ago as he's going around the room, what was my moment of crisis of meaning, I didn't have the heart to say I've never had one. I've never had one. Because I believe in living life by design, not by crisis. We decide how we're going to live our lives. And therefore we don't have to have crisis. We don't have to have stress. We bring it upon ourselves. Okay? And we have to be very thoughtful about that and very careful because what happens to us spills over into our families and spills over into our business and our employees. And so I'll talk a little bit about stress today, and I'll give you a little definition of stress. My definition of stress is an internal reaction to an external force. And if we control our internal reactions, then the external forces can't get to us. But we'll talk about that a little bit further as we go along. I just want to play a little video for you as we start. Is it going to work? Hannah, yep. Do you want to do it? Somebody's got it? Got it. Okay. We'll let Hannah do this. So we're going to talk a little bit about, first subject matter, we'll talk about 45 to 50 minutes, something like that, and then we'll have some Q&A, okay? Will that be all right? Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Since spends 4 years of his life looking down at his cell phone, kind of ironic, ain't it? How these touch screens can make us lose touch. But it's no wonder in a world filled with iMacs, iPads, and iPhones, so many eyes, so many selfies, not enough us's and we's. See, technology has made us more selfish and separate than ever. Because while it claims to connect us, connection has gotten no better. And let me express first, Mr. Zuckerberg, not to be rude, but you should reclassify Facebook to what it is, an anti-social network. Cause while we may have big friend lists, so many of us are friendless all alone. Cause friendships are more broken than the screens on our very phones. We sit at home on our computers measuring self-worth by numbers of followers and likes. Ignoring those who actually love us, it seems we'd rather write an angry post than talk to someone who might actually hug us. Am I bugging? You tell me, cause I asked a friend the other day, let's meet up face to face. They said, all right, what time do you want to Skype? I responded with OMG, SRS, and then a bunch of SMHs and realized, what about me? Do I not have the patience to have conversation without abbreviation? This is the generation of media overstimulation. Chats have been reduced to snaps. The news is 140 characters. Videos are 6 seconds at high speed. And you wonder why ADD is on the rise faster than 4G LTE. But get a load of this. Studies show the attention span of the average adult today is 1 second lower than that of a goldfish. So if you're one of the few people or aquatic animals that have yet to click off or close this video, congratulations. Let me finish by saying you do have a choice, yes. But this one, my friends, we cannot autocorrect. We must do it ourselves. Take control or be controlled, make a decision. Me? No longer do I want to spoil a precious moment by recording it with a phone. I'm just gonna keep them. I don't want to take a picture of my meals anymore. I'm just gonna eat them. I don't want the new app, the new software, or the new update. And if I want to post an old photo, who says I have to wait until Thursday? I'm so tired of performing in the pageantry of vanity and conforming to this accepted form of digital insanity. Call me crazy, but I imagine a world where we smile when we have low batteries. Cause that'll mean we'll be one bar closer to humanity.
So I hope you all have low batteries. And you put those things away and we can have an honest conversation about what's called authentic leadership. Because authentic leadership is not done virtually and it's not done electronically. It's done face to face. Great leaders have great social skills that interact in a way that motivate and inspire others. And so we want to spend some time talking about that, thank you very much, and talking about authentic leadership. Now, you know a lot about me. Lee's told us some things about me, and as we go through today, maybe I'll share a few other things about me. And you may wonder, some of you with whom I've never had interaction, why the heck is this old guy in the front of the room? I'm 74 years old. I've led 17 companies. 5 I've taken public. 3 are the largest in the world at what they do. My last company was $2.1 billion, 17,000 employees. Okay? So I've had a modicum of experience. All right? I've done a little bit here and there. I'm not a genius. I'm not an expert. I'm pretty average. Right, in size, in intellect, and in emotional stature as well. All right, so I'm just an average guy who demonstrates that being average, you can have the kind of life that you want to have. And so today I'm here to tell you, not as an expert, not as some unusual guy, some unique person, just as one person going through life, trying to do the best they can, and in the process having learned some lessons about leadership and having learned some lessons about things. If I can pass those on to you, maybe that will help you in some way. In fact, Cameron asked me just a few minutes ago, and I promised him I would share it. Let me see if I have it here. He said, why do you do this? I mean, probably at 74 in your plan, you don't have that you're going to be speaking at EMP, or going to a chapter somewhere, or visiting with a forum like Lee and I had a chance to do. So why would I do stuff like this? You know, we have enough money to pay the grocery bills. We've done okay along the way. We had 7 children and 19 grandchildren. We all live in a compound, 60 acres in Tucson, Arizona. All of us live together. We're a multi-generational family. We've designed it that way. We've planned it that way. That's our choice. Okay? We live exactly the way we live, and I've done exactly the way, everything I've wanted to do in my lifetime has been by design. And therefore, when we talk about stress and we talk about the roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to have it that way. There is another way. There is another plan, one that minimizes that. And are there ups and downs? Absolutely. All of our lives are indicative of that, right? We have these ups and downs. We have these swings. But they don't have to be dramatic, and they don't have to be cataclysmic, and they don't have to be ultimate failure. Okay? It's all about our mindset. It's how we choose to live and how we choose to think. And so today we'll explore some of that. But to answer your question, Ken, which is a fair question, why in the world am I here today? Why do I do this? Maybe this will help. This is a poem called The Bridge Builder. An old man going a lone highway came at evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight din, the sullen stream had no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You'll never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build this bridge at evening tide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that's been naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I'm building the bridge for him. So, my responsibility and my accountability, not just to help my children, not just to help our family, but to share where I can those things that I've learned along the way that may be helpful to you, to cross the chasm deep and wide, to build that bridge at evening tide. That's really what I'm about. And so this is a, you know, if you believe in the Chinese model of life of 100 years, the first 25 you grow, the second 25 you learn, the third 25 you produce, and the fourth 25 you give back. I'm in the fourth 25-year portion of my life. And my job is to give back everywhere I can, every time I can. So as we think about why we're here today, it's to learn something about you. And this is my favorite drill. London School of Economics and the Harvard Business School completed a study. They wanted symbols that best typify the qualities and characteristics of entrepreneurs. And so they had a lot of symbols and a lot of definitions. They finally came down to just 4 symbols that characterize the total entrepreneurial journey of leadership. And these 4 symbols are as follows: a circle, a Z, a triangle, and a square. Okay, now you've got 10 seconds to look at those. One of those will chemically react with you viscerally. That will be your symbol. Take your 10 seconds and just study. Okay, now your 10 seconds is up, so when I point to a symbol and I ask you to raise your hand so I can give you the definition, if you don't vote for any, you have no personality. Okay? If you vote for more than one, you have a split personality. So do we understand the rules? You get to vote for one, okay? So how many of you think the square best typifies you? Just raise your hand. 3 people. Okay, this is high IQ. Okay, how many of you think the triangle best typifies you? Creativity. And how many of you think the Z pattern? Okay? Innate, inherent leadership skills and abilities. And how many think the circle? Raise your hand nice and high. Take a look at these people. They're addicted to booze and sex. Let's see the circles again. Be proud. Okay, take a look around. Mauricio, I knew you'd be there. Mauricio, I was recently in Mexico City. We had a wonderful time. Thank you very much for your hospitality. Great time with the Mexico City chapter, but I knew you'd be a circle. Yeah. So here's the problem with this class today, and it's going to be short-lived, right? We have 3 people with a high IQ and about 20 of you who are hooked on booze and sex. So I don't know what to do, actually, with the presentation. So I think I'll just use small words and short phrases, and the circles will understand. Okay? I think it'll all work out, right? So you should know my wife. I've been married to my wife for 53 years, come July 11th this summer. Okay, so we have 7 children, as I said, 19 grandchildren. I proposed to her while I was a junior at the University of Arizona going to school. She was a cheerleader, I was a basketball player. I thought that was a heck of a combination. We were going to get together to have babies. I thought that was going to be a good thing. And so I met her the 3rd day I was on the campus. I asked her for a date that day, and she said no. I asked her out for 52 consecutive weeks, and she said no. On the 53rd weekend, I went to ask her again, and I realized the guy she had been dating went out of town for his parents' wedding anniversary. And I thought, this is my opportunity, right? I'm going to sneak in there. And she said no again. And finally I said, I can't stand no anymore. I'm persistent, but I'm getting fatigued. Will you just go out with me? Just go to dinner with me tonight. She finally conceded she would. And by 10:30 that night, we decided there was no need to ever date anybody else again. We were married 2 years later, and we decided to have 15 children. And 15 seemed like a good number. I'm pretty naive, and I thought having sex 15 times would have been fantastic. So I didn't realize until later that you could maybe have it 20 or 30 times. It was just fantastic. So anyway, we started to have babies, and 4 years into our marriage, the doctors told us it was biologically impossible for the two of us to have children. It would never happen. And we were really disappointed, but we're enthusiastic, right? So we went out and we went to the state of Arizona. We said we're going to adopt babies. We got a license. We're all ready for our first baby. Ran into a doctor one night at a cocktail party who'd been working in fertility. He talked to us about some things, put us both in the hospital, checked us out. Then he said, I got to put your wife back in the hospital, which he did. And he reconnected the plumbing and the wiring. I don't know the technical terms. As I said, I'm really naive about this stuff. And so as a result of that, 30 days later, she was pregnant, and every 2 years we had a baby. Okay? So we had 7 babies, and it was just fantastic. And they all looked just like the doctor. That's what he said. And he still making house calls. That's what bothers me. You know? I know when I'm away, you know, the doctor's at the house. I got to be careful about this stuff. I don't want to impugn the reputation of my wife. She's a fantastic woman, a great leader, been a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful grandmother. She's led on every major issue of education, spousal abuse, child abuse in the state of Arizona. She's very well known in the state, and she served as a real example of how to serve others for our children, and our children have learned a great deal as a result of that. So I'm here to tell you I hope you all come to Arizona and come and visit us. We got bedrooms and we got jobs for you, and we'll put you to work and all that stuff. Some of you have been down there to visit us, and you're always welcome at our house, okay? But you're gonna realize we got 100 animals, we got 32 bodies living on the property, all in different homes, and there's a lot of work to do. We don't have housekeepers, we don't have nannies, we don't have drivers, we don't believe in that stuff. We believe in living life by ourselves and doing our own work. So that's how we kind of do our stuff. And you may have to muck out the corrals or feed the chickens or something, but we'll get you going. We've embraced a lot of forums who've come down and spent the day at our home. I spent time with my wife and some of our children and myself and just having a good time. So if you ever want to do that, you're welcome to. And when you come through the front door of our house, the first thing you'll notice is our vision statement for our family, and that's who we are. And by reading that statement, you'll never have to know anything else about our family. You'll know exactly who we are. And so we'll share some of that maybe with you a little bit later today. So my wife and I had returned from a trip to Australia recently, very tired, a lot of plane changes and a lot of delays, and we're just glad to get back in our own bed, just like you are when you get home. It's great to be in your own bed, your own house. It feels good. We're laying in bed and we're holding hands and our eyes meet, and guys, we just get romantic at times like that. We're so sexy and romantic, and we ask those deep philosophic questions at those moments in time, like, if I died, would you marry again? Those deep philosophical questions. And so I said to her, honey, if I lose everything, if I lose the cars, the boats, the planes, if I lose the ranch, if I lose the stocks, the bonds, if I lose everything, would you still love me? And she said, yes, I'd still love you, and I'd miss you too. She's a very strong woman. I think what she was saying is, I'm not dependent upon you, and don't take me for granted, okay? So I'll give you a little bit of sense of who we are as a family. I was born poor, dirt poor, on a isolated farm near the Canadian border in a state called Minnesota, where it's cold, cold, cold. And learned a lot about life. My father had 2 college degrees, but what he really wanted to do was farm. He just loved farming. I'm not sure he was a very good farmer, but he loved farming. And so I would sit on his lap, and as I'd sit on his lap, he would talk about the opera. He would quote from great books. He would teach me poetry. He was preparing me for a life other than living on that farm. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't realize that probably 25 or 30 years later, that all the preparation that my father had given me was about leaving that farm and moving on to other things in life. And so how does that guy who sat on his dad's lap get to speak to EMP here today? What causes that? What kind of choices and decisions and preparation are you making in your life that are going to get you back here to speak at EMP for your class someday? What is that? Life's about choice. It's about design. My father said, quoted a poem to me. Let me try to remember it. When I was about 6 years old, we were riding on the tractor, plowing some ground. He said, I think I'd rather not think, for thinking is like a disease. I know I'd rather not know, for stupidity comes with such ease, and not so much stupid as content with the state, going through the day knowing only that I ate, but to think means to live, and to live means to do, and doing is what is done, but only by a few. Most people are talkers, they're not doers. My dad was a doer. He was a leader. He was a strong man. And he was leading his only son through a process of education, unbeknownst to his son, to prepare him for a world beyond. Which led me to Southern California to become a surfer as a teenager, and then on to the University of Arizona to play basketball, and then to a team called the Golden State Warriors. You may have heard of them. I played with them for a while. And the NBA was kind of interesting, but I really wanted to go back to graduate school and run businesses, just like my dad and his dad. And Cameron mentioned his background with all the entrepreneurship. I think it's like a drug. I think it's addictive, right? I think running companies is really something special. And then I had a chance to compete nationally in a program called the White House Fellows Program. There were 14,000 applicants the year I applied. 17 of us were selected after 11-month competition, and I ended up as the special assistant to the President of the United States. Worked in the White House for 4 years for a man named Gerald Ford, and was the appointment secretary and cabinet secretary to the President, which was another learning experience, another transformation, another growth opportunity. And so that kid from Minnesota who grew up on his dad's lap plowing ground kind of had some interesting experiences along the way. And I think I'm more lucky than I am good, and I think serendipity played a role in everything that I've done in life. Right? Right person, right time, good luck, things just kind of happen. And so did that for a while, and then moved back to Arizona, and first business started. Nice little business. We built it, grew it, sold it about $2.5 million in revenue, reinvested, created another company, did 3 or 4 startups, then we did some early stage stuff. Then we did some more mature companies, all the while building our asset base, and finally getting to a point where a company that we started 18 years ago, we took public at about $100 million, and grew it to about $980 million, 10,000 employees, and then it was necessary to fire the founding CEO and CFO for a variety of reasons. They were 2 of my best friends. I had to carry the news to them that they were no longer going to be running the company. And the board had gotten tired of sort of stagnation. Any of you ever have a company that kind of stagnates on you? You can't figure out where it's going and how to get it there? And there are reasons for it stagnating, and there are reasons for growth. And in this particular situation, this is a company I just stepped down from a year ago as CEO and remain on the board. But when we went public, the officers of the corporation all became multimillionaires, and they became really interested in restaurants and airplanes and boats and all kinds of stuff, but not quite as interested in running the company day to day. So it was necessary to move them out. So the critical numbers are that when I became the CEO in November of 2012, stock prices was $10 a share, $980 million in revenue, $60 million in cash flow, 10,000 employees. 24 months later, that same company had a $55 share price, 17,000 employees, $2.1 billion, and $250 million in cash flow. How does that happen? How does it happen that the kid gets from the Minnesota farm to here today? How does it happen that a company goes and grows like that? And I think every one of your companies is capable of that speed and that rate of growth. But it's all dependent upon who you are as leaders. Right? It doesn't happen without great leadership. We all bring into this room different personalities, different experience, different IQs, different genetics. But it's interesting how we think about it. So what I've just shared with you is my unique voice of leadership. All right? So whatever I am as a leader, if I am a leader, it came out of all those experiences. And as you sit here today, there's not a single human being on planet Earth that's just like you. They don't have your fingerprints. They don't have your IQ. They don't have your life experiences. We need to celebrate that unique voice of leadership that you bring every day. It is so valuable. What you have to offer is so important to what you do. And understanding your uniqueness and celebrating your uniqueness is absolutely essential to being an authentic leader. And be willing to be vulnerable and transparent and honest in the process. We have a lot of other kinds of leaders, and we're particularly seeing them around in the politics these days. Okay? But the reality of it is, there are a lot of great people, just like you, running great companies, working hard every day, being persistent. And the most notable quality of great leadership and authentic leadership oftentimes isn't your IQ, it's not your experience, it's not a product that's special. It's simply your persistence to stay at it every day and make it work. Entrepreneurs are just known for their stick-to-itness, their toughness, their tenacity, their forcefulness. That's what we're good at. And oftentimes, and I've seen in my own businesses, you know, we've had successful businesses when they should have failed because we were just strong enough to keep it going. We were just tough enough not to say no. We wouldn't quit. We wouldn't accept failure. And some of you in this room know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's just how strong we are. But celebrate your voice of uniqueness. Understand how special you are. But understand how special everyone else is in the world as well. And appreciate and respect every person we come across. Because each of us brings that special nature to what we talk about. Well, as we think about the critical essentials of authentic leadership, let me share three things that I believe in my study of leadership that are essential for you to be great and to be authentic. There have been 57,000 books written since 1846 with the word leadership in the title. About 3,000 of those are considered preeminent works, extraordinary works, okay? But they all have three things in common. The first is clarity of vision. Leaders know where they're going. They simply know where they're going. And as Cameron mentioned, if you continuously get sucked into the day-to-day minutia of producing stuff and getting stuff out the door and all the battles you have to fight and everything else, and don't step back to seek clarity of vision, the chances of your great success are diminished enormously. The chances of the opportunity for you to be that extraordinary leader are remote. The opportunity is there for you to step back. That's what a CEO is. That's what a CEO does, by the way. The CEO does, he defines or she defines the direction you're going and the point against which you measure your progress. Okay? It's the distant landmark against which we measure. In fact, let me read you a definition of leadership by Hugh Sidey. Writes for Time magazine. He said this: successful leadership is a state of mind, not a single speech. It's 100 decisions, not a single act. Leadership is a march down a long road, not always in a straight line, but always directed towards some distant landmark. Finally, leadership involves total belief and commitment. Okay? So we are that unique creature, that unique voice that must have clarity of vision. The second is we have to have certainty of intent. Once we know where we're going, then everything we do every day based on priorities have to be driven toward that vision. And the more we get sidetracked, the more we get derailed into doing small stuff, the less chance there is of us doing big stuff. Okay? So we need to be about defining the distant landmark, marching toward it, and everything we do every day has got to get us one step further down the road. Okay? But what happens to us, so many of us, are really chief operating officers. Because we're getting the stuff out the door every day. We're solving all the employee problems. We're always marching to somebody else's agenda, not our agenda. Every time somebody walks in your office, and we all have open door policies. I did with 17,000 employees. Open door policy, you can come and see me anytime. And so when somebody comes in the door, they all knew they had one sentence to tell me why it was so urgent that I talk with them. I would listen to that one sentence and then I'd make a judgment. Yes, that I have to interact in that because it's a crisis. Or, 99% of the time, I'll see you next Thursday at 3:45. How's that? And what happened by next Thursday? The problem was solved. If you hire good people, they solve problems. And you don't have to. But as soon as somebody walks through your door, you are now acting on their agenda, not yours. Okay? And we can talk about time management a little further on, and we'll talk about how to set a schedule. And how did I learn that? I learned that by scheduling for the President of the United States. Every minute of every day counts. It's important. It's critical. And there are specific ways. And I think I can take any one of your agendas here, and I'll give you back 25% of your day. We are frivolous with time. We are not good at managing time. It's one of the biggest problems we have as a leader. So we'll talk about that a little bit, okay? Third thing you have to have and understand is the power of our values that we demonstrate every day by how we live our lives, and we either inspire people or we hurt people. If we're that sort of mercurial person who bounces around and comes in one day yelling and screaming, and the next day's solid and steady, and the day after that moody, and I don't know how you follow somebody like that. I don't know how you follow somebody like that. And I'm not sure that's authentic leadership. I think what you have to have is the clarity of vision, the certainty of intent to act against that vision, and the demonstration and role modeling of the values that you believe in every day. And that's what people follow. And that's what we know from all the literature that's been written on that subject. So what I'm asking you to do today is sort of a state of suspended animation. And that's the notion that it's like the couple that bought a new house. And when they bought that new house, they had a bank of windows, kind of like those windows, that looked into their neighbor's backyard, and they could see the neighbor lady next door hanging out the wash on sunny days, just like today, and they wanted the sun to dry the clothes, so she would wash the clothes and she'd go out there and this couple would come down for a cup of coffee in the morning and the wife would look out and say, boy, it's too bad that lady doesn't know how to wash clothes. All those clothes are dirty. She came down day after day and they'd have their cup of coffee and the lady would be hanging out clothes and she'd say the same thing. Somebody's got to teach this woman how to wash clothes because the clothes are always dirty. Finally, one morning they came down, the lady was hanging out the wash. The wife looked into the backyard and said, good gracious, somebody taught her how to wash clothes. The clothes are dirty. And the husband said, well, not really. I came down early and washed the windows. Okay. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So I'm asking you to take the lens out through which you see life today, scrub it off really hard, pop it back in, and let's look at the world a different way. So I don't have the same views that Cameron has. My life experience is different, and it's different from all of your other speakers. And so I might express myself differently about some of the same subjects, but therein lies the opportunity for you to make choices and for you to think critically about how you want to lead your life and what you would like to do, okay? So as we think about those three things, they become critical, but you know what? To meet those three tests of clarity of vision, certainty of intent, and the power of values, you have three resources absolutely at your disposal that you control, okay? The first is your mind. You decide. You get up in the morning, you decide, you happy or sad? That's your choice. You can have a good day or a bad day. The only difference between a good day and a bad day is your attitude. It's the only difference. You control that absolutely all the time, every time. And don't give that away to anybody else, and don't point at anybody else blaming your attitude on someone else. All right? Because you control that. So you control your mind and how you approach everything, every person, every circumstance, every situation, every day. Totally within your control. How many of you believe that? Okay. Why would you have a bad day? Your choice. Why would you get angry? Your choice. Why would you be unhappy? Your choice. Okay? It's just not necessary. Right? Bad days don't have to happen. Every day can be a good day. Now, that doesn't mean everything goes right. It just means you don't have to have a bad day. Okay? So I'll always argue in the extreme. The second thing you bring to the table is your energy. You just bring energy to everything you do. It was fun to see the presentations up here, to see your energy, and to talk with you, especially those of you I know well. I love your energy. One of the reasons I like to hang out with EOers and entrepreneurs is because of energy. Because we just bring it every day. I learned that from sports. If you don't bring it every day, you don't bring your energy and your effort every day, things don't usually work out very well. And so I think it's just great, the energy that you bring, but you control that as well. Right? You control your mind and you control your energy. You can be blah, you can be sleepy, you can be whatever. Or you can bring your energy. Your choice. Okay? So three great resources. What's the third one? Time. Time's the third great resource. And you know what? As CEO, you control that too. And don't ever give that away. If you have clear view of where you're going, the clarity of vision, if you are acting on that vision, certainty of intent every day, if you're living an intentional life and everything you do is intentional, and if your values are certain, your core values, who you are as a human being, what you believe you really are down deep in your heart and your gut, and you execute that every day, and then you have clarity of mind every day to determine your own outcomes, and you have energy that you bring to everything you do, and you manage your time, I don't know how you can be unsuccessful. I don't think that's a recipe for failure. But what happens to us as human beings, we get sucked into other things, we get believing other things, and all of a sudden we miss the opportunity to absolutely understand those 6 points of leadership. So the great authentic leaderships that have been leaders who have been written about over time have these 6 things in spades. They understand them, they execute on them. Okay? So that's important. In 1926, a man flew a single-engine airplane across the Atlantic Ocean. His name was Charles Lindbergh. He landed near Paris. And he was quoted and asked for quotes, and one of the things he said after landing, he said, "We live today actually in our dreams of yesterday, and by so living, we live to dream again." So the dreams we had yesterday are exactly where we are today. And the dreams we conjure up today, it's exactly what we're going to live in tomorrow. So we have to be very thoughtful about what we're dreaming and what we're thinking about, because those are the dreams we're going to live in. All right? So if you're not exactly where you want to be, you're living in the dream that you created. Accept it. Own your life. Accept the responsibility for where you are. Don't put it off on anybody else and stop making excuses. Accept who you are and what you are. And now let's change it going forward. Let's be that great, great leader, that great human being that you really want to be and are close to already. Let's be that person starting today. And so we'll talk in the second session today about some tools, specific tools that tomorrow morning, no matter how late you're up tonight, tomorrow morning, if you want to change your life, I'll give you a formula for changing your life. There are several of you in the room who are already practicing that, and I may in fact ask you for your own feelings about that as we go through that and what impact it's had on your life, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about that. So these are the critical pieces. So now where do we go from here? So this is what an authentic leader looks like. They're driven by purpose. That's the vision. That's the clarity of vision. They're driven by purpose. They hold fast to the values, their core values, who they are, the verticality. I just got back from China, and we did Tai Chi every morning. And Tai Chi is, you would call it those slow movements and motions, right? But what people don't understand is they don't think that is very athletic. And yet what it is, it's all about the power that emanates from the verticality and the alignment of the human spirit and muscle and skeleton in one form, right? So that Tai Chi gives a person enormous power and strength. Why? Because everything emanates from the core. And what I've just said to you is the core. Clarity of vision, certainty of intent, the power of your values, the control of your mind, the control of your energy, the control of your time. That's the center of your universe. That's the power of who you are as a CEO and who you are as a human being. So if you can get that, you're in good shape. So those values become important. Having a support group around you starts with a spouse or a partner. You add to that children, an extended family, multi-generational family. You add that to your employees. But around you, you want to have people that help you be good, and you help them in the same way. You have to have a huge dose of self-discipline, and that's where we fall down. We just aren't as disciplined as we want. All of us can live this life, but we aren't as disciplined to live it, right? We just aren't as disciplined. So we'll talk about how you can increase your discipline every day and what effect that's going to have on you as a leader, right? And then finally, lead with your heart, not your head. Lead with your heart. Follow your passion. What do you really want to be? What do you really want to do? If you're in a business you hate, sell it. Close it down. Go do something you love. You'll be 10 times more successful doing something you love. Follow your heart in your relationships with people, and that's why technology gets in the way. That's why I wanted to show that first video. Technology gets in our way of people experiences sometimes. And if we're going to be authentic leaders, we have to have the skills to interact with each other in a wholesome and realistic and integrated way. So if we can do that, we're going to be in good shape. Now, there's some dimensions of this I want you to think about. By the way, I should tell you that I created this specifically, this presentation specifically for a person who's in this room. So Mark Martin asked me to come and speak at the Texas Roundup. And I said, what do you want me to speak on? What do you think we ought to do? He said, I'd like you to speak on authentic leadership. And this was done for the very first time at the Texas Roundup, Mark, as you well know. And we had a discussion about that.
Yes, we did.
And so this is something that I don't show often, but it's something I so passionately believe in. There are 5 dimensions to this. The first is pursue purpose with passion. Whatever your purpose is, whatever your vision is for yourself, just pursue it with everything you got. Just go hard. Now that doesn't mean 100 hours a week. Okay? You can still go hard. My own view is I got concerns about anybody that can't get it done in 10 hours a day. I got questions about how good a CEO you are and how disciplined you are. Okay? I think you can get it done in 10 hours a day. All right? Because I think there are other values in our lives that we have to be concerned about. The second is practice those values that we talked about. Be sure and define yourself. Know who you are. Stephen Covey said there are 3 great moments of truth in life. We're going to see this in the second presentation. The first is when you discover what your core values and beliefs are, who you really are deep down. The second is when you commit to those core beliefs and values. And the third is when you act on those core beliefs and values every day. That's what an authentic leader is, okay? So practice those values. The third, lead with your heart. We talked about that. Find your passion. Go at it hard. Everything you do in life will be better if you follow your heart. Now, you do have to marry that with the head down the road, but it doesn't have to be initially. Really follow that passion. What is it you really get excited about? You know what I get excited about? I race offshore power boats. At 74 years of age, 150 miles an hour over 10-foot waves is really exciting. That's what I like to do, okay? That's what I like to do. You want to go for a fun ride sometime? Let me know. I'll take you out, okay? That's what I find exciting, okay? So if I want to be thrilled, boy, let's crank it up. Let's 3,000 horsepower. Let's go. All right? So we all have our pains, right? Those connected relationships are essential, and if you aren't where you want to be in your relationship patterns right now, you need to call time out and get them fixed. If there's something going on in your life or in a relationship with another person, could be an employee, could be a partner, could be a spouse, a child, your extended family, your parents, go have that discussion right now and get rid of it. Take care of it. Don't ever let a relationship hold you back because you don't have the strength or courage to address it. Get it done right now. Be vulnerable, be transparent, and be honest, and you will always be received well, but take care of those relationships. Okay? Next is demonstrate self-discipline. I didn't see any of you in the gym this morning at 5:30. Did I miss something? 4:30? Okay. Yeah. You did. You went outside for a run.
Yeah.
Yep, I saw you going out the door. Were you there this morning?
Running.
Okay, good. All right. Where were the rest of you guys? Sleep. Come on, get rid of this. Sleeping doesn't.
That's my
We'll talk about sleep and sleep patterns in just a second, okay? Don't make excuses. Right, I was just checking to see if you make excuses. Yeah, make excuses. Right? Okay, the other thing you do is you got to be true to your beliefs. There are times when you're going to be in a management meeting, or you're going to be with your family, or you're going to be in the community, where you are the only person in the room that believes that. Whatever that is, you're the only one there. And you may have to walk that walk alone. You're not going to have support. You have to have belief in yourself and be true to your beliefs all the time. Okay? Now, I've been in lots of management meetings where I said, this is the direction we're going, and there were 14 heads going, we're never going to get there, it ain't going to happen, no way, this is really a dumb decision. We made a $400 million acquisition because I believed that it was the right thing to do for our business, and I believed it would add value to our business. And that $400 million acquisition that we made 36 months ago is worth $2.5 billion today. Okay? And I was the only one on that management team that wanted to do that deal. And you just have to roll the dice and go do it if you really believe in it, right? Stick to your beliefs. Be strong, okay? Be prepared to go it alone, all right? Take that belief system, take that intelligence, take your effort, and be prepared to walk alone. Just be prepared to do it. And if you're not serving others, you're not doing the right things. Every day, wake up with an idea that how you can help somebody else. My personal mission statement is to improve the human condition wherever I find it. So I can't pass a homeless person. I can't not say thank you to the people who are filming us today. I can't not interact with the people who set up the technology, find out their name, talk to them, thank them. The people who serve us at dinner. Cameron did a great job of highlighting that, I think. How many of you know the bartender's name here and have had interactions with him and talked to him? How many of you visit the kitchen, right? When you go out to dinner, do you ask the server's name? Do you interact with them? Are you respectful? They are simply another human being on planet Earth. They deserve our respect and admiration for what they're doing. And we find out the most interesting stories from the people who serve us. They got 3 kids and they're sending people through school and they're working hard and they got 2 jobs and they're, you know, I mean, we need to understand that not everybody's a CEO of a business. We're privileged. We're in the 1% on planet Earth. We're in the 1%. How well do you know the 99%? And what are you doing to help them? Okay? Lastly is we have to continuously learn. EMP is a classic example. You've got a great class. You've been together 3 years. You're going to be together for a 4th year and beyond that. You'll be friends for life, right? Learn from each other. Ask those critical questions. Ask the leadership questions. Ask other kinds of questions, the personal questions. Really get to know and understand each other. Have empathy for each other. Why? Because we're all going through the same stuff. I got to make payroll too. I got to get the products out the door too. I got to do the same stuff you're doing, and I've been doing it for 50 years. Okay? So I know you have a hard go. I know it's challenging, and I know that you think it's stressful, which we'll address in a little while. Okay? So as we think about that, what do authentic leaders do then? Well, they work on those genuine relationships. They build trust. Great thing. How are you, ask yourself every day, am I building trust in my organization? And how am I building trust? And is there trust between others? Been a couple of good business books written, and one of which is written by Stephen Covey Jr. called The Speed of Trust. And it's about organizations where there is trust. And where there is trust, they have a lower cost of doing business. The less trust you have in an organization, the higher the cost of doing business. It's demonstratable. You can calculate it, right? Because when people start working around other people because they don't trust certain people in the organization, you have a high level of politics in your organization, you ratchet up the cost of the business. But if you have a truly family environment where trust exists, where affection exists, where you care about each other, you reduce that cost of doing business, okay? So building trust is essential. Empowering others. Let others be successful. Encourage them, celebrate their success. It's not enough to be a good leader. You have to be a leader for good. It's not enough to be a good leader. You have to be a leader for good. And part of that good is growing other leaders. Now, some of you like sports, as I do, and there are some coaches, they all have assistants running around, right, who want to be head coaches someday. There are some coaches where their assistants never really go on to any success and don't become head coaches. There are other coaches where those same assistants go on and they all become head coaches. One is about growing leaders, and one is about using people. And as CEOs, we ought to be about growing leaders. You ought to hope that your CFO, that your COO, and the people in your organization go on to lead their own companies, go on to be extraordinarily successful. And you teach them, you train them, and you send them on their way, and you bless them as they go. That's fantastic, right? Empower others to be successful. Motivate others to high performance. And we talked some of the ways of doing that. Incentive compensation, a whole bunch of things. But on the list of things that are important to people, compensation doesn't rank in the top 5 generally. The latest survey I showed ranking 7. Psychic rewards are more important. How they're treated, their work environment, how they relate to each other, the culture of the organization. And culture eats strategy all day long. You've all read that, right? Culture eats strategy all day long. If you create the right culture, you build an extraordinary organization, okay? So let's just read this for a second by Harold Kushner. For some, making money is important. And if that's your goal, that's great. That's your goal. But for others, it's not about that. It's not about fame. It's not about fortune. It's not about money. It's about having a sense that our lives really matter, that what we do really counts for something, that the people we associate with also have success, that our families have great success, right? It's about the totality of our life. It's not about the specificity of being a CEO and running a business. And it's all those other things that we have to think about. Because there are 4 buckets in life: family, business, community, and self. And all 4 have to be successful. We have to be good at all 4. And we'll talk a bit more about that as we go through this. And this, I think, is really, should be part of EO's culture. The first 2 sentences end with the words learn and grow. The last is really the essence of it all. And the beauty of life is our ability to give. So what's it look like then, if you're going to be an authentic leader? This is what your true north is going to look like. Bill George, who's now a Harvard professor, who took over Medtronic when it was about a $5 billion company and built it to a $60 billion company, puts this up as the true north chart. Driven by values and principles, that's the vision, all right? The motivation is the passion. The support team and those around you, and the fact that you can live a completely integrated life. It doesn't have to be dominated exclusively by trying to build a business, even though it's hard. It's hard work to build businesses, I understand that. But there are other things in life that are equally important, okay? So when we do these kinds of things, then we have an opportunity to be extraordinarily successful. And what we come across as then is the authentic leader. So I had an experience when I was in the White House with the President of the United States. I learned a great lesson of leadership. And the lesson was this, and I'm going to name drop for just a second. Are you okay with me name dropping? I apologize for doing that. I hate to do that. But so the guys I hung out with in the White House, they had names like Don Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Colin Powell, Jim Baker, Bob Gates, Brent Scowcroft, Henry Kissinger. That was our senior management team in the White House. We met every day. And I wasn't as smart as they were. I got there when I was 29 years old. I'm this farm kid who played a little basketball and had a little company and ended up in the White House. And I figured, you know, as I hung out with those guys, I wasn't as smart as they were. I didn't have the same kind of level of political experience. I wasn't as old as they were. The youngest guy there. I mean, it was just a lot of things running against me. And so I knew that I would probably make a mistake at some point in time. And when you make a mistake in the White House, everyone knows about it. The world knows about it. We know that today just watching CNN and Fox News and other kinds of things, right? And I didn't want to hurt the president, and so I knew I'd have to tender my resignation. So about 30 days in, I was looking for an opportunity to meet with him privately so I could tell him that I was going to submit my resignation. Because I wasn't as good as these other people. And we had a meeting, that group that I just talked about had our morning meeting, and everybody started running out the doors to do other things, and I lingered behind. And finally, it was just the president and I in the Oval Office. And I said, Mr. President, may I speak to you? And he said, yes, sit down. So I sat down and I said, Mr. President, I'm not good enough to be here. I'm going to screw up and make a mistake, and the whole world's going to know about it. It's going to humiliate you and embarrass you. And I haven't had the experience these people that just walked out of the room have had. And I'm just, I want to tender my resignation. And he turned his chair around and he looked out the windows across the south lawn of the White House and the Rose Garden for what seemed like 6 to 8 hours, probably about 10 seconds. And he turned back to me and he said, the very fact that you've said this makes you worthy to be. The fact that I was vulnerable, honest, and transparent allowed him to trust me. And from that point on, he gave me assignments in foreign policy and national security policy that no 29-year-old farm kid should have ever had. You shouldn't have trusted me with it. But I met some of the most extraordinary people around the globe. I had some amazing experiences, but the one thing he always knew was that I'd been honest with him and he could trust me. And it's created a really wonderful relationship. And do we have that same level of trust and vulnerability and transparency with the people in our lives? Are we that honest with everybody we know? Are we that authentic leader that people point to as a model example of what we want a CEO to be like? We all have the capacity to do that. You and I have the potential to be great leaders. We need to tweak things just a little bit, and we'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. So how about some questions before we take a break? Yes?
So earlier you mentioned that acquisition that everybody else was against. So what gave you the courage and conviction to go it alone, walk it alone at that point?
On acquisitions, I believe in the 80% rule, and that is I can only get to know 80% of all I have to know to make an acquisition. There's 20% that takes too long, it's too hard to get to be 100% certain, right? So at the 80% line, what happens then? You get to about 80%, you say, after that it's all intuition. It's all sort of how do you feel about it. And I got to that 80% mark, and I felt strongly that we could do some special things with it. I got there probably before any of the management team. Today, all the management team said, yeah, I was in the room and I voted for it, it was fantastic, it really went great. But the reality of it was that nobody had gotten there at the same time I did, and we had a timing issue with the acquisition. We had a short time frame in which to make the acquisition and find the financing. We had to refinance the entire company to do that, over $1 billion in refinancing to be able to get the deal done. And so as a result of that, I'm one of these people that follows my heart pretty strongly, follows my passions pretty strongly. I had this deep-seated belief this was the right acquisition. I identified it originally, I'd done the research on it, my team had been around me, supporting me, but when it came down to make the decision, they were queasy about it. And there was some risk to it. As it turned out okay. So I think there's a role for research, data, and information, but as a CEO, there's a piece of that that's pure judgment. And we have to have the courage to make the judgment. Does that answer your question, Russell?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Based on your statement about frivolous use of time, what are your thoughts quickly on the open office layout concept?
Oh, I think whatever works for you works. I've been in open offices, everybody's at a module, everybody hears everything. That's one way of doing it. Then some people have the open modules, but they have conference rooms or private offices around the outside or somewhere where you can go. I mean, I think whatever works for your philosophy and your culture is good. I think there's some conversations that shouldn't be heard by everyone, and you have to be sensitive about those, protect those. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like, I'm a highly collaborative, highly consensual leader. Really enjoy interactions across, so we've had a lot of open office concepts, designs. Elizabeth?
How does an authentic leader handle failure?
Handle what?
Failure.
Failure?
How would it authentic
Openly and
leader-
honestly. Hey, if you want to ask me, have I ever failed? I'm first in line. Heck yes, I failed. All right, I had a huge failure. Yeah. And I lost $11.5 million of my own money on a deal that I thought couldn't miss. Right? So you just, yeah, you know, I think we all fail personally and professionally. And what you do is, if you're really true to yourself, okay, it's just a speed bump. You know, just one of these things in life, okay, you shrug your shoulders and go do it again. If I lose everything today, my wife knows this. My wife is about safety and security. I'm about roll the dice all day long, just gamble, let's go. All right? So we are polar opposites when it comes to our marriage. And so I needed to take care of her safety and security. So I'm going to suggest something to you as spouses, those of you who are married, that you'll see high risk in it, but let me suggest to you. In 1982, I created an irrevocable trust for my wife, and I gave her all of our assets, 100%. I didn't retain any. Gave them all. And why would I do that? Two reasons. One, it solved her safety and security. She was now a very wealthy woman who didn't need to live with me anymore. I was now living in her house. Okay? And I go to her mountain cabin tonight, all right, when I get back to Arizona, because we have a big family celebration tomorrow. So it's her mountain cabin, it's her house, it's her property, it's her ranch, it's her everything, okay? I did that, the second reason I did that was because at the time I was sitting on a lot of public boards, public company boards. And when you sit on a public company board, if you get sued, shareholders lawsuit specifically, and the judgment exceeds the D&O insurance limits, you come out of pocket personally. And in the Enron case, the directors came out of pocket with $20 million personally, okay? So if you want to protect yourself, you need to figure out how to protect your assets. And so the way I protected the assets was put them in irrevocable trust, get them away from me all the time. Now, so our continuing deal is that she gets 50% of every profit I make on every deal, and I keep 50%. That's my play money. I get to go roll the dice and do it again. So it works out well for us. That worked for our marriage. Worked out great. So you all might think about doing something like that, but how do you protect your assets against litigation in a world that's litigious? And it varies country to country as to what you can do or not do, but in the United States, everybody lawyers up right away, right? So we did that. Does that answer your question? Liz? Okay. Yes?
So you say follow your heart and listen to intuition and things like that. I'm not that skilled at that, or my heart speaks
It's fair.
not that loud or
Yeah.
then. So
Every once in a while I have a heart murmur too. It just goes on vacation, you know.
so basically, any tips for developing that and?
Yeah, I think particularly as young entrepreneurs, you're in your first deal or two, first businesses or two, you don't have enough experience to really trust your heart all the time. And I had the advantage maybe of just having more experience at an earlier age, and maybe I'm more trusting of my heart and my judgment, my intuition. And I think study, read, hang out with people who do deals, hang out with people who build companies like this. Learn as much as you can all the time, assimilate information and knowledge to the highest degree that you can, and that'll give you a substitute for your personal experience. It'll help you. It'll help you. And I think also failure helps you, because what you learn from failure is all the things you did wrong in making judgments about something. As I said, I had a wonderful failure after a huge success. I had a huge success. So I got a call from a friend of mine and said, you know, someday they're gonna do eye surgery with lasers. And I said, it'll never happen. That's, you know, trusting my dad, never gonna happen, you're wrong. And he was persistent. He's a good friend and business partner. He persisted. And they were doing it in a lot of places in the world already, but the United States has not approved it yet. And so he finally conned me into going in. We put a bunch of money in, and we opened an office in Mississauga, Toronto, Canada, because Canada had approved it. And so we sent ophthalmologists and patients up there, flew them up there, and did the surgery in Canada, and then flew them back. So we were chartering airplanes to carry people up there. In preparation for what we knew would be approval in the United States for the Federal Food and Drug Administration at some point in time. We projected it would be 3 years from the time we started doing this. It was exactly 3 years later. So for 3 years, we took patients and doctors to get experience, and then we prepared to roll out a national play, including optioning equipment, optioning space, optioning everything, right? So, and all we were out was our option money to do that. And so finally the Food and Drug Administration approved it, and we opened 55 centers in 30 days. And today we have 472 centers, and we're the largest LASIK eye surgery company in the world. Okay, we took it public at 8 and it went to 70. We had a nice little run. It worked out okay. So I think his intuition was better than my intuition in that circumstance. He had a better view of that than I had. I became a believer, and we had a lot of fun. And our international spokesperson, by the way, was Tiger Woods, and that's a whole other story. We can talk about that. We can talk about that whenever you want, okay? Does that answer your question? Is that helpful at all? I mean, I think we have to try to get as much experience. It's like me being in the White House, right? I didn't have the intuition or the experience, the political judgment to be there. But man, I gleaned everything I could from these other people. I was open and honest about what I didn't know, and people were willing to help me, and it brought me along faster. I think we can do the same thing in business.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Just curious, did you ever think about doing politics?
So, when I was 19 years old, I wrote down the 100 things I was going to accomplish in my lifetime. So this paper is 55 years old. Of the 100, how many do you think I've accomplished? I read it every day. I know where I'm going every day, right? How many have I accomplished out of 100 goals I set when I was 19 years old? Some of these are, I look at them and I say, gee, that's stupid. and others of them I look at and say, boy, that was audacious. How do you ever think about that? I'm going to answer your question in just a second. So how many do you think that I've accomplished?
100.
96? 99?
100.
98. 98. There are two I don't think I'm going to be able to accomplish. One is that my goal was to visit every country recognized by the United Nations. When I started, there were about 185 countries. But they keep dividing countries and big new names. It's a moving target. I don't know if I can ever get there, right? I visited so far 198 countries. Okay? So been into 198 countries. The other is I want to be president of the United States. I think this was a year I should have run. Sometimes, you just miss those opportunities. I think I just missed the opportunity. So I'm not so sure about that one. Time may be running out on that, but you never give up on something like that, please.
You mentioned earlier that if you walk into your house, you see your family's mission or vision.
Vision statement, yeah.
Can you share that with us?
Sure. I might just happen to have it here. So our vision statement pertains only to us. These are concepts only related to our family. It may not relate to your family at all. But here's the Rustand family mission statement. An eternally sealed family. And what that means is that our family decided, all 9 of us decided we never wanted to be separated. We never wanted to be apart. That we want to be together forever. Even including all of our kids lived abroad for 2 years. They're all bilingual, bicultural. Some are trilingual, tricultural. That's a requirement to be in the Rustand family. Because if you're going to be a global citizen and operate in a global environment, you better understand the globe. So we send people out around the world. So all 7 of our children have lived abroad. The only thing they could do when they lived abroad, serve the poor and study. Nothing else. Okay? We paid for it, but only a meager amount. And then they all came back, went to great universities, and they all loved each other so much. They're so close as a family. We're very close. They all said, let's just all move back to Tucson and all live together. So mom and dad are saying, yeah, this is great. This is fantastic, right? So that's what we mean by eternally sealed family, all of us together. Which helps each member reach their potential through unconditional love, respect for differences, where all are committed to leading Christ-centered lives, and which serves as a protective shield for all who dwell within. So there are concepts in there, right? The first concept is we're all going to be together forever. That's key to our family. We all vacate. So tomorrow, 32 of us are going on, going water skiing and wakeboarding tomorrow together. So we're going to have a good time. We'll crank up those 3,000 horsepower and have a good time. And that family helps each member reach their full potential through unconditional love. 2 really important concepts, okay? respect for differences. Every child is different. Every adult is different. We talked about that earlier today, right? We have to respect that. We can't make children the same. We can't make every family member like us, right? They're all different. We all are committed to lead Christ-centered lives. That's just a statement of faith on our part. That's our spirituality. And which serves as a protective shield for all who dwell within. And what that means is that our home and the confines of our home will protect every member of that family from all the buffetings of the world that are going on around us. That that's a safe haven. We will not be critical of each other. We will not harm each other. We will not do stupid things to each other. That's a place of love and compassion and empathy. Because the world's a tough place. And everybody has to have a place to retreat to. And the place you should retreat is to your family. So that's our particular vision. Is that helpful too?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Other questions? Yes.
Just confirming again, when did you do the mission statement, and what do you do when you've got family conflict?
Yeah, it's not uncommon. First of all, we did it, our youngest child was 3, our oldest was 16. Took us 6 months to do it. We started with 3x5 cards. We wrote words on the cards. We said to the family, what words reflect our family or describe our family? And so we wrote joy, happiness, beatings, floggings, whatever it happened to be, right? And then we'd say, okay, now let's compare. Do we mean joy or do we mean happiness? And we would narrow the words. We got down to about 50 words. And then we said, well, somebody has to write a draft statement. And the family voted that our oldest son, Eric, and myself should go away and write it. So we wrote it, came back, edited, wrote, took 6 months, finally, boom, put it down, everybody raised their hand and said, yep, that's us. And that's how we got that statement. And every year at our annual family retreat, where we talk about such things, that's the first item on the agenda. Does anybody want to change any word of our vision statement? And to this day, no one suggested a single word. So when our kids went off to college or universities, they took a copy of that with them. It hung in their rooms, right? When they got married, it hangs in their homes. When their children are born and our grandchildren, it hangs in their bedrooms, right? And we talk about it. It's an active, living document, just like our value statement is. We talk about it regularly, right? We use it for teaching purposes. So when our teenage son wanted to go do something crazy, I'd say, okay, Eric, how does that square with our vision statement? You say, not very well. How do you feel about that? I'm probably not going to do that. It really creates an interesting dynamic in a family when it's a living document. The second piece of your question is when there's a conflict, and certainly there are conflicts in families on a regular basis, and that's hard. It's hard. I think through love and persistence and dedication and commitment over a long period of time, you can hopefully ultimately resolve those. Some of them are irreconcilable, and they're just hard, and they're never going to be, it's tough. One of our sons, Scott, our second son, is a special needs son. Doesn't have the same understanding that anybody in this room has. He was born with the deprivation of oxygen to a certain part of his brain because of a ruptured placentia that my wife had. And as a result, we couldn't get her to the hospital in time to get him out. So he lost a part of oxygen to his brain, and it doesn't allow him to sort out social relationships, right? So as a result of that, he was bullied in school and made fun of and all that stuff, but he had an older brother who 6'4", 250 pounds, and took care of that situation. And he had one sister and 4 other brothers who made sure that he was protected at all times, right? So he's grown in compensating skills. He's been a firefighter. I mean, he's working in a healthcare system right now. He's terrific. But he couldn't walk in this room and sort out the relationships in a conversation where you and I might pick up on something really quickly. He just can't do that, right? We have another son who's an adopted son who's Native American. He's a Navajo boy, came to live with us when he was 12. He's now 46. If you want to go on his website, it's called William Whitehair Weaver. He's considered the foremost Navajo weaver in America today. He just had a special show for him in Denmark, and they showed all this stuff across the country of Denmark. I mean, he's an amazing young man. When he first got into it, his mother was dying. She was a great weaver, and so she wanted to teach him the native skills, and so he built a hogan near her home, dirt floor, kerosene lantern, a loom in the corner, began weaving. The very first thing he weaved, he got in the Jeep and brought it down and gave it to my wife for being his mother. So, very nice. Hello.
So how, just to follow up on that, your 15-year-old son, you asked him, he said, no, I guess I'm not going to do that, but what is, when a 12-year-old son says something, it's one thing. When they grow up, they change. So how do you jive the whole evolution of a person with your constant
Well, we think it's a guide, right? It sets forth certain standards that we believe in, and it's a guide. And we talk openly with our children about it all the time. And we have every right to change that. If we think that's a changing vision statement, then, you know, our family can decide to change that. But we think there are constants, and you gotta have those in a family. And we think it helps we've reared children. Now, you all can tell me how hard it is to raise 1 and 2 kids. I'm not buying it. We raised 7. Okay. Got 19 grandchildren. When I go home from work, you know, our children and our grandchildren are all around, right? They all live within 100 yards of us. We share 60 acres. We got over 100 animals there. Horses, pigs, goats, sheep, chicken. We're totally self-sustaining, our own water and our own wells. We butcher our own beef. We pick up fresh eggs every morning. All the kids are doing that. So the reason why you want to have big families, it's a labor force. Right? And if you raise 1 or 2 children, you got to parent like crazy. But if you raise 6 or 7, the older kids raise the younger kids. It makes it a cakewalk for parents. Okay? So it's just how you look at life, right? That's why we wanted 15. We actually wanted 100 acres. You know? We needed more kids. Questions? Other questions? Please, in the back.
How do you weigh in on, there's a lot of conversation and socializing these ideas about culture and being authentic and doing the right thing and you know, all things we learn about being a great leader and authentic leadership and so forth. How do you weigh in on the really successful companies where the assholes, you know, the bosses are assholes? You got Bill Gates that, you know, used to demean his employees and say, you're a fucking idiot, I could have done this in 2 hours, it took you 2 weeks. You have Larry Ellison, who's, you know, also not the best boss, not the best work environment that talks about culture. You know, you have that side of it, right? You got Steve Jobs who also doesn't have the best. So how would you weigh in on that? And is that of the past? I mean, even Jack Welch was he was great in his time and he was Big G to phenomenal levels. But is that changing now, or what do you think about that?
Well, it's all recognized. First of all, there are jerks in the world. They're just jerks. And some of them have physical or intellectual challenges, right? Clearly, Jobs did. And there are those who believe Gates has as well, to a lesser degree, okay? Either minor autism or something else, right? So there are jerks. And they just are. The question is, do you want to be one of them? You control it. You want to be a jerk? Go be a jerk. It's entirely up to you. That's what authentic leadership's about. What kind of leader do you want to be? All right, I can tell you, I've never raised my voice at an employee. I've never gotten angry at an employee. We build great cultures. We build great teams. That's what we're all about. That's why our company's been so successful. I've done 17 companies and 6 of them have been roaring successes.
So when that happens, let's say you don't raise your voice, I don't yell at my employees either, but let's say you're nice. Do you ever feel like some employees take advantage of you, or do you say, well, did I screw up there? What's my learning lesson? Or do you just let it go and say that's how it is?
No. We have a very high, we have low tolerance for lack of performance and lack of consistency around our values and vision and so forth. So employees understand what they have to do, but we're very honest with employees. High levels of accountability, high levels of interaction, and very open, honest, transparent kinds of discussions. If I'm having a difficulty with an employee, if you're the employee, I'm going to have that discussion directly with you. And I'm going to tell you it's not personal, but here are the issues that we have to discuss.
For example, when you took over the company with 10,000 employees, and you got to reshape that culture.
Yes.
What was that like? And you're redefining a lot of different things.
That was a financially engineered model. By the way, I think financially engineered model only works for private equity, hedge funds, and venture capital. I think everybody else in the world understands and believes that purpose-driven organizations are the highest performing organizations in the world. Right? Anywhere you look right now, the best performing companies are purpose-driven companies. Okay? So we had to refashion from an financially engineered company where numbers were everything and people were browbeaten with it and just, it was in their face all the time. In the 3 years I was there, except when I talked to analysts on Wall Street, I never talked to any of our employees about financial metrics. I talked about their calling in life, about their job, about their families, about our purpose, where we're going, how we can help people, what they can do to add to that. And they suddenly realized there's a whole different way of thinking about the work. And that is about their own purpose, their own value, right? And how they can help other people. Our companies largely have been healthcare and social services companies, so it's consistent with my purpose, which is to improve the human condition wherever I find it. And it's consistent with other people's feelings about helping other people. So it maybe was a little easier to refashion that into a purpose-driven organization. So I believe very strongly that the CEO has to be all about creating purpose in the organization. And when you create purpose and people believe that, then your opportunities to be successful, I think, are dramatically different than if they're just playing to a number. If they know by next Friday they've got to produce X sales, or Y income, or Z bottom line, right? So I just think it's a different way. So when I took over the company, a week after I took over the company, I went to Wall Street to all the analysts that follow us and said, we're going to do the five things. You can measure our progress every quarter when I report our earnings based on these 5 things. These are the 5 things we are going to do. So it made it really simple for the analysts, so they got on board right away. So the 5 things were, we're going to operate the company more effectively and more efficiently than it's ever been run in its life. Meaning we're going to get more with less than anybody's ever gotten out of this company. The second thing I said was, we're going to organically grow the company at 10% per year. The third was that we are going to be acquisitive. We're going to go out hunting big game. We're going to find some big acquisitions. And while I was there, we did 3 acquisitions at $400 million or more. The fourth is that we're going to invest heavily in technology, and we will be the sector leader in technology in every business. And the fifth was that we will develop a high-performance workforce that is compensated on incentives in the same way that the CEO is paid. So if I get a bonus, everybody in the organization, 17,000 people got a bonus. If I get stock, 17,000 people get stock, okay? That there was this notion of egalitarianism, that the CEO is in it with you. Because what we see in America today specifically, more so than any other country, are these enormous multiples of the average workforce, the average labor in the business for the CEO. These extraordinary numbers for CEOs. Even when companies are performing poorly, they get these huge golden parachutes. They get all this stuff, you know. It's just obscene. And the average person in the organization can't relate to that. So if the CEO is treated the same way as everybody else in the organization, it changes the game. It just changes the game. So that's how we went after it. Sorry for the long answer. I missed somebody over here, Sarah. Yeah.
I just wondered if we could go back to the conversation about mindset, and we heard Cameron talk about the ups and the downs, and I think we could all relate to that.
Absolutely.
And then you're sort of saying you should be able to never have a bad day, but could you just talk about that in the context of like really processing pain, processing the big stuff in life that, you know,
Yes.
actually does hurt, and like how do you get through that and not have a bad day?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people hurt my feelings too, right? And we all experience pain at different times. We have failures, companies and so forth, or we make mistakes. But I see it in a larger life context, right? I don't see my life as that moment. I see my life as 100 years long. So it's not going to matter in 100 years, it's not going to matter.
Well, what about if somebody dies though? I'm saying like
Somebody dies, somebody dies, okay? All right, if somebody dies, somebody dies. We're all going to die. Everybody on planet Earth is going to die. So I need to start preparing early in life for my parents' death. I need to prepare first. If you haven't already, how are you going to take care of your aging parents? You got a plan for that? How are you going to do that? It's going to cost you a ton of money, potentially. How are you going to take care of your aging parents? So it's a mindset, and you hear my mindset. If somebody dies, somebody dies. We're all going to die. I don't have to go crazy emotionally over someone's death. Why? Because I've prepared for that death for years. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to take care of that person, mother or father. I'm going to take care of that person. I'm going to love them. I'm going to do everything within my power, but they're still going to die. Okay? Their death will not determine my life. I love them for everything they gave me. My mom and my dad. My mom was crazy, literally. My dad was great, and he died way too young. When he died, I was surprised, but I wasn't overwhelmed. Okay? That's just mindset. That's preparation. Life is about preparation. Being a CEO is about preparation. All right? So I don't think we have to allow ourselves emotionally to be devastated by things that we know are going to happen. Now, you know, we talked about stress. Can I just do a little thing on stress? Because I have such a different view of stress than most people. And Cameron talked about it a lot. I don't share the view. I don't believe you have to have stress. In fact, Dr. Heidi Hanna, who's written 4 books on stress, she and I teach at the EO Leadership Academy together. And we openly debate the subject. I don't believe in stress. She thinks it's everywhere, all the time, you know, everything. So here you are, right? This is me. These are things I control. We're CEOs, we control certain things, right? These are things I don't control. Okay? So, if I control something, why would I be worried? Why would I have stress? I have control. So you'll have to explain to me why you would be upset, concerned, or worried about something you control. All you can do is all you can do. Is all you can do. You work at it every day, you control those things, you do the best you can. All right, these are the things you don't control. You don't control climate change. You don't control the rising of the seas. You don't control the American president. Those things you don't control. Why would you worry about something you don't control? So I think there are no worries, and therefore there's no stress. If stress is an internal reaction to an external force and you control your life, why would you feel stressed? We manufacture stress. It's also very fashionable to be stressed. I can ask any one of you, how you doing? And you know what I get? I am so busy. There's so much pressure. I would never hire someone that would describe themselves that way because they're saying my life's out of control. Why would I hire somebody like that? I want people who are in control of their lives. You know, I'm associated with some of the greatest leaders in the world. Again, name dropping and all that kind of crap, okay? Sorry. I spent a lot of time with Nelson Mandela, all right? Spent a lot of time with Mother Teresa, working in her charities in India. They run big organizations, powerful organizations, extraordinary leaders. Lots of presidents. I worked for 5 presidents of the United States. Not one would ever describe themselves as too busy. Spent time with Warren Buffett. You think he'd say, I say, Warren, how you doing? He said, man, I'm so stressed. This is horrible. I got 82 companies. I don't know what to do. I got $85 billion. Oh my goodness, this is horrible. This is awful. Oh goodness gracious, I don't know how to get through the day. Nobody that I know of in a senior leadership position in major corporations or in the U.S. government or any other government describes themselves in that way, even though they have more pressure than you and I will ever have. Okay? Why would you describe yourself that way? Yes.
So I tend to take on that same mindset too. There's things I could either control or not control.
Exactly.
How do you control seeds of doubt? And let me be more specific about that. So I already realized I can't control certain things. Like so recently my CEO resigned. Last week my executive assistant resigned. But I think about, well, those are all within the realms of what I can control. But are there things that I could have done better? So are there mistakes that I've done? Are there things that did I not give enough attention? But in my mind, I've already kind of moved on. I already moved on and said, okay, I got to figure out how to replace it. Here's the steps I'm going to do. And move on. I also don't believe I stress at all either. But people tell me, you're stressing. I can tell you're stressing. I'm fine. I'm able to control all these different things. And so I guess that's where I get kind of perplexed about. And then how do you not let the seeds of doubt drive you to insanity? At some point, I'm like, okay, I move on. It is how it is. And we move forward.
First, in regard to your COO and your assistant, you can't control that. That was their decision to leave.
Right.
Okay? So there's no reason to stress over it. Just focus on replacing it. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about it today. Now, you should say, okay, what was it I may or may not have done? We could have created a better environment. How can I improve the situation for the next person I hire?
Right.
What learnings are there? So you learn. But these are just speed bumps in life. These are just speed bumps in life. Just get used to it. All right? It's just the way it is. That's why we're CEOs. That's why we're business leaders. But try to eliminate stress from your life. Why? Because you're not sleep. 68% of people have, 68% of CEOs, more specifically, have a sleep problem. Many of you admitted to that earlier in the day. You have a sleep problem. Sleep isn't the problem. It's symptomatic of what's really going on in your life. Sleep is not the problem. You can fix the sleep problem, right? But it's all the stuff that's causing you not to sleep where you're out of control. You should be able to control your exercise, your diet, when you go to bed, how much sleep you require, when you turn off your technology. That's stuff you control. Why aren't you sleeping better? I mean, come on. You want to make life so complex. It's not complex. Life is relatively simple. It's relatively simple. It is about your mind, and it is a mindset. And when you get that mindset right, everything else in your life falls in place. Everything else falls in place. Yes?
Have you ever fired one of your partners?
Yes.
How
In fact, in the next presentation, let me tell you about, I'll tell you specifically about a partner experience I had. A partner of 27 years, multimillionaire, who stole money from me. And I'll tell you about how that happened, okay? I was totally betrayed. I was totally betrayed, okay? Over here, there was a question? Yes, then we'll come back over here. And then we got to take a break.
Yeah, so I hear you, and I think for me at least, it comes down to self-discipline. You don't do the stuff that you say have lack of discipline. Do you have any tips on how to increase our self-discipline?
Yeah, in fact, we're going to talk about some things you're going to start doing tomorrow morning to change your life forever, okay? You'll be a different human being in 60 days, 90 days than you are today by what you're going to do. You'll be happier, you'll be more focused, more energized. Woo, it's exciting. I can't wait to tell you about it. Yeah.
You seem like a very powerful human being. It's coming from within and in your mind. How are you exercising your mind? What are you doing? What's your morning routine?
Oh, we're going to get into that. I have a 31-minute morning routine that will change you, okay? And some people in the room are already using it, okay? And I will tell you, thousands of EOers and YPOers and CEOs around the world are using it, and it's changed them too. Yeah, if you're willing to be dedicated and disciplined to do it, it'll change you forever. If you're willing to go up 31 minutes in the morning, every morning, you'll be great.
You know that yellow list that you have, that pad paper?
Yes?
I have that too.
Okay, very good. And if you read it every day, you know what happens? You tend to accomplish it. And if you never read it, you never accomplish it. Now, here's what we're going to do, because we got a lot of time for questions at the end as well. But we want to get another presentation. But first is, I want you all to stand up. Just stand up where you are. Okay, this will take us out to our break. We're going to take a 10-minute break, okay? Maybe 7. All right, so I'm going to ask you to do 3 intricate moves. Don't do any until I give you the sign and symbol. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is just to clap your hands in a rhythmic way, okay? No? Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back here. Remember the squares, low IQ? Just pay attention, okay? Just pay attention. Just pay attention, all right? So I'm going to ask you to clap your hands in sort of a rhythmic way and then to increase that over time. Then I'm going to ask you the second part of the coordination is actually stomp your feet simultaneously, clapping your hands. And then on the signal, I'm going to ask you to yell more and more and more, okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Clap your hands. Now when I go home, my wife's going to say, how'd it go? And I said, they were on their feet, clapping, stomping for more. So we got a few people missing, but let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for your questions and your interest. I'd love to spend a whole day with you just talking about this stuff because I think it's so important to us to frame a context and a philosophy within which we live every day. And it all starts with how we think, okay? And what our mind is. So I was playing professional basketball with the Golden State Warriors. In fact, the Warriors are now coached by a guy that I recruited to the University of Arizona. His name is Steve Kerr. And he's a really good coach and a good guy. And so we've gotten to be good friends over the years. But I was playing for the Golden State Warriors, and somebody asked me, how did I get into business? And this story will indicate to you how I got into business. So I was playing for the Golden State Warriors. Our coach was Alex Hammond, who'd been in the NBA in the 40s and 50s, and a really good player. And he was coaching us. And after one particular practice, he came over to me and said, Warren, he said, there are 3 things that you need to be a great professional basketball player. And I said, well, I want to be a great professional basketball player. What are the 3 things that I have to do? He said, well, first is you have to be an intelligent player. You have to know the offense, the defense, the matchups, the transitions, all that. And you're a very intelligent player. I said, thank you, Coach. He said, the second thing is you got to give us maximum effort every time you're on the floor. 100% of what you have to give, you have to give every time on the floor. And he said, you do that too. He said, you're great at that. And I said, thank you, Coach. He said, you're just missing one ingredient from being a great professional basketball player. And just, Coach, I've geared my life toward this. I want to be a great professional basketball player. What is it I'm missing? He said, talent. So that's how I got into business, right? I had to find an alternative source of income. So it was a good time, a lot of fun, and it's an interesting sport. So now we're going to talk about this notion of, so here we are. We're all in it together, right? We're just here, doing the best we can. So how do you move your life to the next level? How many of you would like to move to the next level? Okay. As do I. At my age, I want to continuously grow, continuously improve, continuously get better. My best day is tomorrow. The best deal I'm going to do, if we close it, will be next week. All right? The biggest company we're going to build is probably 2 years away. So, just attack life. Just get after it, right? But every period of our life requires us to transition So coming out of EMP, I hope what you're going to do is say to yourself, I can be a lot better than I've been. I now have some tools and some ideas about how I can be a better CEO, a better father or mother, a better brother or sister, whatever it happens to be, right? Because there are ways that you can do that, and there are tools and techniques, and we want to get into that, okay? So first I'd like you to see this video.
Your attitude's like the aroma of your heart. If your attitude stinks, it means your heart's not right.
You sure is preaching now.
Mm-hmm.
What?
How's your attitude, Brock?
It's fine.
Then you'll be okay with the death crawl, right? All right, everybody on the goal line, get your partner, let's go. All right, let's go. Show me something. 10 yards. Move it. Let's go, Matt. Let's go, Jonathan. Show me something. 10 yards. Show me some power. No knees. Keep your knees off the ground. Show me something. There you go. 10 yards. Show me some muscle. Show me some power. Give me some heart. Let's go. Very good, boy. Very good. Let's run it back.
So, Coach, how strong is Westview this year?
A lot stronger than we are.
You already written Friday night down as a loss, bro?
Well, not if I knew we could beat them.
Come here, Brock. You too, Jeremy.
What, am I in trouble now?
Not yet. I want to see you do the death crawl again, except I want to see your absolute best.
What, you want to go to the 30?
I think you go to the 50.
50. I can go to the 50 if nobody's on my back.
I think you can do it with Jeremy on your back. But even if you can, I want you to promise me you're going to do your best.
All right.
Your best.
Okay.
You going to give me your best?
I'm going to give you my best.
All right, one more thing. I want you to do it blindfolded.
Why?
Because I want you to give it up at a certain point when you can go further. Get down. Jeremy, get on his back. I did a good tight hold, Jeremy. All right. Let's go, Brock. Keep your knees off the ground. Just your hands and feet. There you go. A little bit left. A little bit left. There you go. Show me good effort. That way, Brock. You keep coming. There you go. It's a good start. A little bit left. A little bit left. There you go, Brock. Good strength. That's it, Brock. That's it.
20 yet.
Forget the 20. You give me your best. You keep going. That's it. No, don't stop, Brock. You got more in you than that.
I ain't done. Just rest a second.
You gotta keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's go. Don't quit till you got nothing left. There you go. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. You keep driving. Keep your knees off the ground. Keep driving it. Your very best. Your very best. Your very best. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. That's it. That's it. Keep going. Don't quit on it. Keep going. Keep driving it. Keep your knees off the ground. That's it. Your very best. Don't quit on it. Your very best. Keep driving. Keep driving. There you go. There you go. That's it. You keep driving. Keep your knees off the ground. Keep driving it. Don't quit till you got nothing left. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. That's it. That's it. Keep going. I want everything you got. Come on, keep going. Hurts. Don't quit on it. Your very best. Keep driving. Keep driving. There you go. There you go.
He's heavy.
I know he's heavy.
I'm better at strength.
And you negotiate with your body to find more strength, but don't you give up on me, Brock. You keep going. You hear me? You keep going. You're doing good. You keep going. Do not quit on me. You keep going. I know it hurts. You keep going. You keep going. It's all hard from here. 30 more steps. You keep going, Brock. Come on. Keep going. Burn. And let it burn. It's all hard. You keep going, Brock. Come on. Come on. Keep going. You promised me your best. Your best. Don't stop. Keep going. Too hard. It's not too hard. You keep going. Come on, Brock. Give me more. Give me more. Keep going. 20 more steps. 20 more. Keep going, Brock. Give me your best. Don't quit. No. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Run you're in the end zone. Brock, you are the most influential player on this team. If you walk around defeated, so will they. Don't tell me you can't give me more than what I've been seeing. You just carried a 140-pound man across this whole field in your arms. Brock, I need you. God's gifted you with the ability of leadership. Don't waste it.
Coach?
Can I count on you?
Yes. Coach?
What is it, Jeremy?
I weigh 160.
Alright. Who next? Good practice, boys. See y'all tomorrow. Hey man, for the first time in a while, I actually feel good about Friday night.
Yeah? Why?
I'm just on board with what you're doing. If they get a hold of it, it'll change their lives. You count me in.
Grant? Me too. Yeah? Yeah. I feel like I owe you an apology. I just want you to know that I'm with you.
Thank you.
See you, Mom.
Okay, so what was this video about? Heart, leadership, football, never giving up, perseverance. Yep. Negativity.
Mind over body.
Mind over body.
Mindset.
Mindset. It's about mindset, right? So this young man, how far did he think he could go with somebody on his back? 30. And how far without somebody on his back? 50. How far did he go with someone on his back? 100. Okay? So it's about human capacity. All of you sitting in this room have more capacity than you believe. You all have more talent than you believe. You're more skilled than you believe. You have greater capacity to do good in the world. You're just scratching the surface. No matter how tough it is, no matter how strong you think you are, no matter how difficult your life may be at different times, you're just scratching the surface of your potential, just like this young man was. This is a full-length movie. These are real football players. That's a real coaching staff. This is a situation where these young men hadn't won a game. They were facing their toughest rival, and they doubted themselves and didn't understand how good they could be. So the coach decided to demonstrate how good they could be using this young man, the captain, as an example. So he went 100 yards. So when they got nose to nose, now the end zone, right? What did the coach say to him?
Remember back here.
Okay? Can I count on you? Right? Can I count on you? And then he didn't talk. When you ask a commitment question, you can't talk. You wait for an answer. Like, will you marry me? You don't start talking, right? You wait for the answer, okay? All right, so he said, can I count on you? And he waited for the answer. The young man said yes. Then what did the coach say to him?
You're given the gift of leadership.
Been given the gift of leadership, don't waste it. You guys have been given the gift of leadership. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Don't be frivolous with it. Think about how serious it is, what you have. It's so important. You have such power to be remarkable and extraordinary, just like this young man was. What happened to the first assistant coach when he got back up the field? What did he say? Yeah, he said, I'm kind of optimistic about Friday night. I'm kind of on board. And if these boys get a hold of this, it'll change their life forever. Right? If these guys get a hold of this, it'll change their life forever. Okay? What did the other assistant coach say?
Sorry.
He was apologetic. He wasn't on board. He wasn't giving his best effort. And the other thing is that when the coach got up from laying down, he did something really interesting. What did he do as he started up the field? He reached down and touched the young man. A touch of affirmation of effort, right? Of affection, kindness. That's what leaders do. I happen to be a very tactile person. Some people are less tactile. But those of you that I meet, I'm going to shake hands with you. I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to grab your arm, and that's just who I am, right? That's a connection point because I like human beings so much. Okay? So this whole notion that you can do extraordinary things, right? Well, our lives are like that. The only problem is we only have 86,400 seconds a day to give that effort. At midnight it goes away, and there's no guarantee you'll get another 86,400 seconds. So how we spend our time is absolutely essential and critical. We all have the same amount of time. How many of you know people that you look at them and say, I can't believe how much they get done in a day? And you look at other people and say, I can't believe they can't get anything done in a day. The only difference is how we use time. We all have the same amount of time, and CEOs, leaders of businesses have to be really good. And if you live to be 75 years old, you'll get 700,000 hours in your lifetime. Do your math quickly. Where are you in your life on those 700,000 hours? I would say the average age in the room is probably 42, 3 years old. You've already lived more than half your life. Are you exactly where you want to be? Everything turned out exactly as you wanted to? The company's perfect, family's perfect, community activities are perfect, everything's good? If you are, that's great. Most of us have room for improvement. Most of us can do better. You get 28,000 days in your lifetime, and it's all about the choices we make every day. About who we're going to be and how we're going to do it. That's all that really matters. There are two kinds of people that get up in the morning. The first person throws back the covers and says, Good morning, Lord, and they're ready for the challenge of the new day. The other person peeks out from under the covers and says, Good Lord, it's morning. Attitude determines everything about leadership. Everything about leadership. Okay? We are what we repeatedly do. We're everything we have thought. We're everything we've experienced. We are what we repeatedly do. 97% of everything we do is habit. If you want to read a good book on it, read a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Okay? Gives you a little research, a little information about habit. The whole notion is that we have these patterns of habit for good or for bad. What we want to do is eliminate the bad patterns, replace them with good patterns. How many of you have something about yourself you'd like to change? Okay, so we're going to start today, right? We all agree on that. In the confines of this room, 64 of us, we're going to change our lives today. It's going to be better. So that you can jump out of bed in the morning and say, Good morning, Lord, you're ready for the challenge of the new day, okay? So, how do you get to the next level? Well, things get in our way. We've had a global economic recession. It's touched a lot of our businesses. Touched our business, maybe touched some of your businesses. It's been difficult and challenging. It's been 10, 12 years in length, and it's not over yet. Some markets are showing signs of rebounding, but not all. Some markets were delayed in getting into the recession and are deeper now. Australia, for example, didn't feel the initial impacts, but is more challenging now. Right? Canada, a little bit the same. So it may be uneven, but we have to deal with that. It has spawned political chaos. Leaders have been thrown out. New leaders have emerged. And there's a rising sentiment in the world that the 99% are taking over governments. And that's going to be the future in politics. It's not the 1%, the political elite, that are going to control the world anymore. But those who represent the frustration, the anxiety, the difficulty of lives are going to be the ones who are going to be elected to office. And we have to deal with that. We have global tragedies, right? And whether that's the tsunami in Aceh province where thousands were killed, or it's the earthquake off of Japan that shut down a nuclear reactor, or it's the tornadoes in the midwestern part of the United States, or it's the changing climate, whatever it happens to be, there are global tragedies that are going on in what seems to be a magnitude level, right? That we have more of them now than we've ever had before. So what should we do? Well, Jim Collins said this, and this is something we ought to pay attention to, right? Greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness is a function of choice and discipline. You want to be a great leader? Then choose to be a great leader. And then discipline yourself to be that. Nobody bestows greatness upon you. Nobody says because you're nice and you're wearing a green jacket today that you're a great leader. Okay? We have to choose to be a great leader and then discipline ourselves to be that great leader. And when we do that, we have unbelievable opportunity. So there were 3 men working on a construction site. And a man came walking down the road and observed the construction site. And he saw the 3 men working, and he saw that each man was doing exactly the same thing as the other 2 men. So he asked the first man, Sir, what is it you're doing? He said, I'm squaring a brick. He asked the second man, who was doing the same thing as the first man, Sir, what is it you're doing? He said, I'm finishing a wall. He asked the third man, who was doing the same thing as the first 2 men, what is it you're doing? He said, I'm building a great cathedral. We are driven by the vision of our work. Getting that vision right is essential for great leadership. During crisis and chaos, we discover who we are. All of us have had problems, challenges, failures, both personal and professional. We're going to run into walls, and we're going to fall over things, and we're going to do stupid stuff. But we discover who we are. Each time we stumble, we are smarter when we get up. Our failing is only if we fail to get up. Right? But if we get up, we got another chance to succeed. Life gets our attention in that circumstances, and I believe in crisis, great leadership emerges. We see that in war, we see that in sports, we see that across a lot of venues that we have in our lives, right? This notion that great leadership can emerge. But we define greatness, it doesn't define us, okay? We don't choose greatness in the sense that it just comes to us easily. Greatness is something we work hard for, something we struggle for, but it's a choice that we make. Gandhi, I think, had it right when he said, as human beings, our greatness lies not in our ability to remake the world or our capacity to remake the world, but to remake ourselves. Ever thought about just kind of remaking yourself the way you want to be, as opposed to kind of where you are? So why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we eliminate our bad habits? Why wouldn't we replace them with good habits? If 97% of everything we do is habit, the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the house we live in, the route we take to work every day. I take a different route to work every day just so somebody can't assassinate me. But it's just one of those things, okay? So you can work on me. How to achieve greatness? You have to have a dream and a plan. You have to have beliefs, but you have to have action. It's not enough just to have a dream. You have to have a plan to fulfill that dream. That's what clarity of vision and intentionality, certainty of intentionality is, okay? So you have to have that. Those two pieces have to fit together. I know a lot of dreamers are fun to talk to because they're always going to do something, but they never get it done. Why? Because they don't have a plan to do it. I know a lot of people who are going to build their company to $100 million, but they don't have a plan to do it. Right? Those with a plan actually get it done. Okay? So when I was in the White House, there was a guy named Mr. Ramo who came to the White House. And he's the R in a company called TRW. Any of you know the company TRW? Pretty big global company. So he's Mr. Ramo. So he came to the White House and he was explaining to the President of the United States, we all sat down in the Oval Office, and he was explaining to the President of the United States how the next day they were launching at Cape Kennedy this spy satellite that they had bet their entire company on. They borrowed and leveraged like crazy to build a $500 million spy satellite, and it was going to put their company on the map, and their company would become famous as a result of the successful launch. And he was explaining, and he never once sat down, you know. The President asked me to sit down, I sat down, the President sat down. Here's this guy kind of wandering around the office, just excited and fired up and happy and really ready to go. And finally he said, Mr. President, I'd like you to come down and join me at Cape Kennedy tomorrow for the launch. The President said, well, I have a couple other things going on tomorrow. I've got nuclear negotiations, I've got this, I got that, I can't go, but Warren would be happy to go. And he points to me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 29 years old, yahoo, I've never seen a rocket launch. This is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited. So we jump on his private jet, and he never once buckled a seatbelt or sat in the seat. He was pacing up and down, walking around, excited and fired up. $500 million satellite, leveraged the entire company. Big deal. It's going to put us on the map. We got down on the VIP reviewing stand down at Cape Kennedy. Thousands of people there. Beautiful sunny day. Rocket off in the distance. His satellite on top of it. $500 million. He's leading cheers. He's excited. He's fired up. The rocket suddenly ignites. Right? Smoke comes out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. The engines fire. It begins to lift off the pad, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet. At 50 feet, it blew into a million pieces. Totally destroyed. Now I expect to look at a man who was distraught or discouraged, even depressed. But he was leading cheers, he was excited, and he was fired up. I said, Mr. Raymond, what is it? And he said, well, we know it can fly, we just have to improve its range. My point is that everybody in this room can fly. That's why you're here. That's why you're EMP. You can all fly. The only question is, what's your range? It's the only question. Who decides that? You do. You decide that. Nobody can decide that for you. You decide that. And every year when you come back, as EMP alums, every year when you come back with a big smile on your face because of the progress that you've made as a human being, with your family, and with your business. And share that with others. Share the lessons that you've learned that have made you special, made you unique. When you do that, you're good. Why would you want to change? Why would I suggest to a room full of entrepreneurs that I think are about the coolest people in the entire world, which is why I hang out with you? Because you're so energetic and so vibrant and so smart, right? I think sometimes you have to change just to survive. That if you don't change what you're doing, you're just going to be the same person going along. If you don't grow, your business doesn't grow. If you don't keep learning, your business doesn't keep learning. You have to lead the way, right? So change is necessary for survival. Secondly, you have a chance to eliminate some bad habits. You all raised your hand, said you had bad habits, something you wanted to change. Okay, so you can eliminate those bad habits, that bad behavior. That, the stupid stuff that we do every day, right? And you can acquire new habits, skills, and capacities. And when you acquire those new skills and capacities, it changes who you are fundamentally, just like that young football player going down the field. He was fundamentally changed from that point on. He was an average football player at that point. But that team, with his leadership, went undefeated the rest of the year. They hadn't won a game. They went undefeated. They went undefeated the next year, and they went undefeated the year after that. He became one of the 11 best high school football players in America. Why? Because he discovered his capacity. He discovered who he is and the talents he has. And EMP is about your discovery of who you can be. So why would I suggest change are needed? Well, you know, little kids when they go off to school and they got the little pink backpacks and they got the little purple backpacks and they're all so cute and they're trundling off school and there's nothing in the backpack, but they're just, they got to have a backpack because everybody has a backpack, right? And they just are so cute. And then they get into secondary school or high school and they got, you know, two-week-old sandwich in there, and they got dirty socks, and they got shoes, and they got books, and they got a computer, and it gets a little heavier. And then they get in the university, it's heavier still. And then they get into adult life, you know. What are the rocks in the backpack? What makes a backpack heavy when you're an adult? Can you think of anything?
Bills. Baggage.
Baggage. What kind of baggage? Past. Okay, what else?
Regrets.
Debt.
Broken relationships.
Broken relationships.
Fear.
Fear.
Guilt.
Guilt.
Desire to please.
Desire to please.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty. What else?
Ego.
Ego. Regret. Bigotry. Hatred. Stupidity. Right? Disrespectfulness. There's a lot of stuff we carry in our backpack. I had a rock in my backpack that I had to get rid of not too long ago. One of my business partners, 27 and a half years. He was the executor of our estate. Something that happened to me, he was to manage our estate. And I was reading some financial statements and there was a discrepancy. And after spending a lot of time trying to reconcile it, I came to the conclusion that he had stolen $80,000 from me. He was a multimillionaire. If he'd have asked me for $80,000, I would have given it to him. He was that good a friend. But he'd stolen it. It was clear. And if any of you have ever been betrayed in your lifetime, you know what I felt like. Kills your heart, can't sleep, hurts your gut, have your best friend do something like that. It's unbelievable. And I wasn't sleeping, and my wife, who's my best counselor, said, you know, you've got to get the rock out of your backpack. And I said, nope, I just got to deal with this. And finally, after 4 or 5 days of not sleeping and just fretting about this and feeling horrible about this, she said, you got to get the rock out of your backpack. And I said, how? And she said, you got to forgive him. And I said, I'm not going to forgive him, I'm going to kill him. And so I accepted her advice and I invited him to lunch. And he came to lunch and he walked in the restaurant. He didn't know I knew. I put 2 financial statements in front of him. I said, I know you've stolen $80,000 from me, and I'll never know why, but I want you to know I forgive you. And when I walked through the door of the restaurant, it was like a 1,000-pound weight had been off my shoulders because I had transferred full accountability and responsibility of everything to him. And I was free of that rock. My backpack was lighter. 2 months later, I got a 5-page letter from him, apologizing, wanting to be my friend again, wanting to be my business partner again. And while we'll never be business partners again, we're working in a friendship. Everybody deserves a second chance, and we hope that we'll make that successful. But I think somebody in this room, you know who you are. Some people in this room that have rocks in their backpack. You got to examine that pretty carefully. And if you want to have full acceleration of your life, we have to deal with those personal issues that are holding us back. Okay? We got to take care of them. We got to be honest and transparent and vulnerable, and deal with them as they are, forthrightly, and clean out our backpack. And when we do that, we have the acceleration of opportunities, the acceleration of who we really can become. Don't hold grudges. Don't be angry. Don't hurt other people. Let's live our life to the fullest. Let's be extraordinary. Because what happens then is when we clean out our backpack and we're emotionally secure and sound, we accelerate, become a catalyst for remarkable results, extraordinary results. Okay? You think about the great people you know, they don't carry rocks in their backpack. They don't carry regrets around. They don't carry hatred, animosity around. That's why they're great people. Well, what can you do? I'd like you to challenge your status quo. Challenge who you are. Do it today. Don't wait another day. Just really get to your room tonight, take off your clothes, stand in front of the mirror and say, this is all I got. Okay, now for some of you, that would be very embarrassing. Yeah, oh, wait. Mauricio is rooming with someone else, so we've got to be careful here. Mauricio, I had trouble visioning you naked anyway, so that would be a problem. So this notion of just confront yourself. Just say, this is all I've got. This is my brain, this is my body, this is what I have to go into the world to do battle. And be very honest with who we are. Sometimes we build ourselves up, and that's particularly true of technology, that I wanted to show you as the very first thing today. Technology allows us to create in a narcissistic, egomaniacal way who we want to be, not who we are. We send our highlight pictures to Facebook to show the world how cool we are when we're really living in a reality TV show. Okay? We need to reconcile those. We need to reconcile those. Let's always be who we are. Embrace the possibility, just the possibility that you could be great. How many of you have ever actually thought about that? That I could be extraordinary. I could be remarkable. Never underestimate your power to change your life. I currently mentor 28 EOers. I spend an hour a week with each EOer. And they're becoming great, not because of me, but because of the decisions they're making about their life. I can't make somebody better. They make themselves better. Right? They make themselves better. They have the power to change their life if they want to. Jamie Duragi, some of you know Jamie. Los Angeles chapter. Chapter president. I gave a speech in Los Angeles, about 300 people there. He happened to be in the audience. He came up to me afterwards and said, I want to be the U.S. fencing champion. You're in his forum. You know him very well. And I said, Jamie, have you ever fenced before? And he said, yeah, I fenced. I was pretty competitive until my sort of early 20s, and then I kind of tapered off, building a business, getting married, taking care of family issues, and so forth. And I stayed fit and competed in various tournaments here and there, but nothing serious. And I said, well, how old are you now, Jamie? He said, 52. I said, I don't know any world-class athletes that skip 3 decades and then want to be the U.S. champion. Okay, I just don't know any. And you might be the guy, but I don't know any. And he said, well, what would it take for you and I to be involved together, and you help me go through this process? And I said, what it would take is that you would have to do everything I say every minute of every day if you want to win the U.S. championship. So, okay, I'm in. And I said, okay, if you really think about it now, everything, every minute of every day, you think about that, call me on Monday. This was a Thursday. Call me on Monday if you really feel good about that and you want to make that kind of commitment. I figured I'd never hear from him again. 6 a.m., Monday morning, my phone rings. Hi, Jamie Duragi, I want to be the U.S. fencing champion. I said, great, let's get started. January 1st, 2012, we started working together. And on June 19th of that same year, 6 months and 18 days later, I flew to Los Angeles to the Anaheim Convention Center to see the United States Fencing Championships. Jamie was enrolled as a competitor. He had 12 matches over 2 days, and he and his wife, Kathy, and I sat there and watched him. And at the end of the second day, he was in the gold medal round. He lost by a single point. What's happened to Jamie since then? He's won 2 U.S. championships, and he's been on 5 World Championships team. Okay? You can do anything. You can do anything. The power is within you to be anybody you want to be. Okay? Mark Russo, EO member in Seattle, met in Miami, Florida, came up to me after a talk. And he was crying, and it took an hour before he could even speak. He had lost everything. He had a $50 million business, and the recession had cost him his entire business. He's a custom home builder. Lost the entire business. His wife was filing for divorce. His kids didn't like him. One person agreed to stay with him, and that was his partner, Jay, who'd been with him since high school. They'd been DJs together. He said, yeah, I'll stick it out with you, let's go. All right? He said, I've lost everything. And he said, I want to be the biggest custom home builder in the northwestern part of the United States, and I failed. So we started talking, and so where's Mark today? 5 years later. Mark is the largest custom home builder in the northwestern part of the United States. He just closed his books at about $75 million in revenue. He's got sales for about $100 million next year. He and his wife are happy, doing well. Leslie, their 2 children, Sienna and Lee, are great, and he learned a lot in the process. He's decided to be remarkable. decided to be extraordinary. Decided that it was a speed bump in the road, it wasn't ultimately fatal, and that he could be anything he wanted to be. Those are the kind of people you are. Let's watch this, because this defines what it takes to change.
In our halfway stage, from a truly international field, when he kicked in 2 laps, 800 meters, in 2 minutes 10 seconds. But gradually, they're getting to him. It's been a long and lonely trek for him. And chasing him now, Shahanga, the Commonwealth Games 10,000 meter champion from Tanzania, and the world cross-country champion from Ethiopia, Devane. But Jones has got a really gallant race. Only he can hang on now. He's got the crowd with him, he's firing. He's got all the running. But they are closing. And of course, he's got very little finish in speed. So there's the battle. 400 meters left. And he finds something as Shahanga starts to move.
Oh, real courage here from Steve Jones. This crowd, who would love to have this runners. He's doing good. Brendan Foster's doing the David Bedford. Shahanga's doing after him. And the crowd have loved the way. He's taken it off. And he's really trying to get away.
Shahanga closing all the time. 200 meters left. Jones looking for trouble, and the trouble is there. Shahanga running in his sights now. Running in very good Jones. And surely it looks as if he's Jones kicks hard in front. And can he hang on? Shahanga running with every score. And the Africans is going to steal this race. But Jones coming back. And Mark and Jones comes back to the inside. And what a finish. And he's truly a stunning run. But easy. He came back. And the effort was Shahanga to get there. Well, guilty. And when Jones comes back, he's scored. He's promoted. 28 seconds to the line of the race. And he's beaten 12 times with right close to 55.2. Just tripping over the line. All splendid goal runner. And what a battle this was. Here's Shahanga starting. He really attacked hard, fast on the outside. Jones' head went back over the ring. And then suddenly, the race is narrowing on. Steve Jones broke the pace. The Africans were moving. And that did all he needed. The gap was there on the inside. The encouragement was there as he felt Shahanga falter. And he drove through there to the line to take the 10,000 meters. A fine win. And a victory for Shahanga.
Steve Jones was just like that young football player, wasn't he? Takes courage to understand what you have within you. He'd never won a race with a finishing kick. I happened to watch that live on TV when it was actually happening. I get goosebumps just watching it. It's an amazing recovery, right? And he was a young man who had won many races and lost many races because he didn't have a finishing touch. So he could only run from the front and try to burn out the other runners by pace. And yet he got caught at the end. And suddenly he was able to reach down and find that thing that's special, that makes entrepreneurs great, that makes us as really unique people. And that's the notion that we have something in reserve. We have more capacity and potential than we like to believe or we think about. And each of us is born with that. It's a gift. And we all have that. And no matter how hard you think you're tapped out, no matter how tough things get, there's more to you. There's more power within you. And you can discover that just as these 2 athletes have done. So we have that opportunity, right? So as we think about how do we get there, let's talk about some tools and ways to think about how you're going to start your life tomorrow. Let's talk about the 5 principles of personal greatness. What's going to take you there? First, commit to a higher level of discipline than you've ever had before in your life, in every aspect of your life. Let's stop being sloppy about life. Stop being sloppy. Okay? We'll talk about each of these individually. Secondly, live with purpose every day. And we'll talk about how to discover that purpose every day. But live with purpose every day. Purpose takes us to a higher level. If we can discover that, we're good. Act with intent. Don't be unintentional about life. We're here for 75 years. In the history of the world, that's a nanosecond. You get 75, 80 years here on planet Earth. Every day is important. Every hour is important. Every minute's important. Let's do it the right way. Act with intent. Make conscious choices. Don't unconsciously get sucked into things. Make conscious choices about every aspect of your life. Your diet, your schedule, your family, your community, yourself. Make conscious choices. And lastly, be engaged in a cause that's greater than yourself. Because we know when tough times come, the way to feel better about yourself is to go serve someone else. Go help someone else. Do you think it's tough? Go really help somebody who's got it tough. Go talk to the homeless people on the street. Go to the people that don't have homes to go to at night. Go talk to the battered spouse, the battered children. Okay? We have it pretty good. We can't complain. We're in a position to help others. Let's look at these one at a time. First, we've already talked about this. Mindset is everything. We have to put our mind in the right place to win. I've never been in a locker room with a group of athletes prior to an athletic event where we sit around talking about how we're going to get killed that night. I've never had that happen. Have you? Why would you think that way? Don't talk about the negatives. Think about the positives. The negatives will just go away. They'll be overwhelmed by the positives. All right? Be positive and optimistic at all times. All right? Mindset controls everything. So now when athletes get ready for an athletic competition, they get off a bus, they're going into a stadium, what are they doing? What are they doing? What's obvious? Mauricio, you're right. They wear headsets, right? Because what we know about from brain research, brain state technologies, and the Brain Center in San Francisco and other groups like that, is that music can begin to balance the left and right side of the brain, and when the left and right side of the brains are more balanced, you have optimal performance. When they're more disjointed or further apart, you have less than optimal performance. So what are you doing in your life to bring that closer together for optimal performance? Listening to music is one way. There are others, okay? But it's about adjusting the mind. How many of you even know if your brain is balanced or not? How many of you have been tested? Only one brain in 1,000 is balanced. Only one brain in 1,000 is balanced. The rest are always skewed, left or right. But there are people who have balanced brains, okay? We send our entire management team through brain state technologies just to find out about them. And they learn marvelous things about themselves, okay? Just marvelous things. And then they can begin to work at finding greater optimization, which is really important to be extraordinary. So the mind is the controlling vehicle, right? The body doesn't quit, the mind quits first. The body doesn't quit, right, until the mind tells it to. So the body will always follow the mind. So put your mind in the right place and you have the opportunity to be more successful, okay? Secondly is, let me give you, in fact, let me go back. Let me give you the drill. It's called 10, 10, and 10. It's my passion. I've been doing it for 42 years. So when you get up tomorrow morning, I want you to do this, and I want you to do it for 60 to 90 days, and it'll become a habit for you. Change your life. I'm going to ask for a testimony in just a second. When you first wake up, what do you do? What do you do when you first wake up?
Check my phone.
What?
Check your WhatsApp.
Check your WhatsApp. Right? A lot of people reach for their cell phone, right? Absolutely, you got to reach for your cell phone. What else do you do?
5 minutes of positive meditation around a cup of coffee.
All right, cup of coffee, 5 minutes meditation.
Take a leak.
Take a leak, got to go to the bathroom, right? Okay.
Theme for the day, think about it.
Think about your theme for the day, okay?
I'm grateful.
Grateful, okay. There's no wrong answers. We just do stuff. Some brush teeth, some go to the bathroom, some walk the dog, some run around the house naked. I mean, yeah, we all have different things, right? We all have different things, right? So what I want you to do tomorrow morning, starting tomorrow morning, do it for 60 to 90 days. Sit on the edge of your bed for 1 minute and ask yourself this question: why am I alive today? Why am I alive today? You ask that question because you have to decide what your purpose is for the day. Because you're going to be more powerful if you live purposely every day. So decide what your purpose is. Okay? So why am I alive today? Am I going to be a great teacher today? Am I going to be a great negotiator today? Am I going to be a great father today? What's my purpose today? And some days you have more than one purpose, right? Because you're going to be a great negotiator in the morning, but in the afternoon you have to be a great team leader for your management team or something, right? So there are different things, but focus on your intent and purpose for the day. And when you do that and put that in your mind, you have a much higher level of chance of success than if you don't. People who just sort of get up and go through emotions and show up at the office, I mean, that's interesting, but you're not in the top 1%, okay? It's just interesting, all right? So your mindset's really important. The next, take 10 minutes, as Julia just said, and be grateful. go to a window, or I get up before sunrise every morning. I get to see the sunrise every morning. It was beautiful this morning. A few clouds, but still the sun shone through. Just be grateful for the sunrise. You get another 86,400 seconds. Okay? Be grateful for your family. Be grateful for your business. Be grateful you live where you live, in the city, the community, the country. Just be grateful. Because attitudes of gratitude put your mind in a place that allows you to be more successful. Have an attitude of gratitude, okay? Next 10 minutes, I want you to pull a book off the shelf. It can have nothing negative in it, only positives. There are quote books that you could read that have short poems and various quotes and so forth, like Chicken Soup for the Souls, or Treasure Chest, or a book called Thank You. It's just this notion that you can be inspired by what someone else has written. I happen to be reading right now the 100 Greatest Speeches of All Time. Unbelievable. Mandela, Gandhi, Churchill, you know, just Martin Luther King, John Kennedy. I mean, just interesting, because it inspires me. Okay, read something that inspires you every morning. And then the last 10 minutes, you want to go to your journal and handwrite, not word process, handwrite what good things are going on in your life and what's happened to you in the last day or two. And when you die, who gets that? Your children. It's a great legacy gift to your family, because they will know throughout your life how you saw the world. I get to read 42 years of journals by my dad. And if I die today, our children will have 45 years of my journals. And it's a genealogical masterpiece that you're giving your family, because it's the history of their father or mother and how they saw their lives in a positive, optimistic way. Just do it for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Now, you're 31 minutes into your day. Where's your mind? You're in pretty good shape, right? Pretty good shape. So you do the next toughest thing in your life, you go exercise. All research shows that exercise in the morning is more valuable than exercise in the evening or the afternoon. Why? Because you're tired in the evening or the afternoon. You can't optimize your performance. Go into each exercise or each workout with specific goals in mind. I want to burn 700 calories. I'm going to do this kind of exercise. Have an exercise that's good for you. In my case, I'm still a competitive athlete. I play competitive tennis. So as a result of that, I have specific exercises that I do to help me in tennis, right? Or crashing boats, whatever the case may be, okay? So figure out what your exercise pattern is. You need 150 minutes of exercise per week minimum. Minimum, to stay in good shape, okay? So get your exercise out of the way. Just get it done. And some of you will say, well, I got young children, they wake me up in the morning. Great, just get up an hour earlier. Don't give me any crap about that. I had 7 children. I went 22 years, my wife and I figured out, we went 22 years while we were in the house. We had some days away, obviously, but 22 years without ever sleeping through the night. Okay, because we have children who are light sleepers. 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 of them are up every night. And they come trundling down the hall, and they want mommy and daddy. Okay, now that's just fun. Just instead of getting angry about that because you're not getting your sleep, hug them and kiss them and just be grateful that you got kids that want to be with you. You know, just be grateful. Okay, so get your exercise out of the way, really important. And do something that's good for you, right? Cycling, elliptical machines, you should have more cardio than weight training, but at age 32 about, you begin losing lean muscle mass in your body, and unless you're rebuilding that lean muscle mass, you will lose it for the rest of your life. Okay? It doesn't regenerate unless you build it. So you ought to be doing some lifting, high reps, low weight, to build lean muscle mass. And then cardio is the other thing. You just have to have high cardio. And why do I say that? Because you should be able to say yes to life for your children. Anytime a child comes to ask you to do something with them, you should say yes. So our children are very active and athletic. So when our children comes, hey, Dad, 2 weeks from now I'm going to run a 10K. Will you go? Say, yeah. Why? Because I'm in shape. I didn't have to say, can you give me 6 months? Right? And I know some of you are parts of forums that are going to run a half marathon, half Ironman, and a full marathon, and that's great. You should be doing that. You should be able to do that every day of your life. You shouldn't have to wait 6 months to do it. Keep yourself in shape. How many bodies do you get in this lifetime? Yeah, you just get the one, that's right. And when you wear things out, like I have, I've got 2 artificial hips. When you wear things out, you put in spare parts. It's that simple, okay? And they're supposed to last 15 to 20 years. Mine have been in 23 years. I got them when I was 50 years old. I'd already worn out my hips by the time I was 50, okay? So, you know, what happens if these wear out and I have to get new ones? I know some guys my age who are dying who have artificial hips. We just take them out of there, put them in here, save a buck, okay? Get a discount. Works out great, okay? So get your exercise. Don't put it off. There's some of you in this room who do it every day, and some of you who don't do it at all. You should be doing it on a regular basis. 150 minutes a week minimum. Nutrition. Within 30 minutes of exercise, you need protein in your body. Make sure you get some protein. Okay? If you want to know what the specific diet that could help you, in fact, there's a new book out called Neurogenesis, which has really got some new ideas about diet. But traditionally, the diet has been this. 60 to 65% of your diet should be complex carbohydrates. 20 to 25% should be lean protein. Chicken, fish, beef. About 10% of it should be fat. 48 to 60 ounces of water a day. Eliminate as much sugar as possible, and that's my difficulty. I am a chocolate guy. I love chocolate, and I got to fight that battle every day. And some of us have those battles, right? Soft drinks, whatever it happens to be. Got to fight those battles, but we got to be successful. We got to win the battle. Okay, so if we adhere to that kind of diet with the exercise we just talked about, you will always maintain a good weight. You'll be in good shape, and you'll always be able to say yes to life. I had a son who recently came to me and said, "You want to hike Kilimanjaro with me?" I said, "Sure, let's go." When do you want to go? Next week? Week after? 6 months? When do you want to go? Because all of our kids are in shape. My wife's in shape. We stay in shape. Okay? Because I'm never going to tell a child, no, I can't do that because I'm undisciplined and unable to keep in shape. I'm never going to let a child have that acknowledgement from me. Okay? All right. Next is your schedule. Let's build a schedule really quickly. Because time management, those 86,400 seconds a day are really critical. Let's really just work on that for a second. Let's conceptualize that. So where did I learn to schedule? I learned to schedule by scheduling for the President of the United States. Every minute's important. Every second's important. It's all committed. It's a tough time. The issues that come to the President of the United States are all big issues. He does not decide trivial issues. Somebody else does that. Just like in your business, I hope. The trivial stuff, the routine, mundane, all that kind of stuff, that should be done by somebody else. You're the visionary leader of your business. You got to stay focused and you got to really pay attention. So how do you build a schedule? There are 4 buckets in our life that we mentioned before. Family's always first, business second, community third, self fourth. Okay? So select your top 3 priorities in each bucket as a way of thinking about a schedule. So what are my top 3 family priorities? What are my top 3 business priorities? What are my top 3 community priorities? And what are the top 3 priorities for myself? So get those firmly in your mind, and they ought to be the most important things that you're striving to achieve. Now, under each priority, write specific activities that you have to do in order to accomplish that priority. And write a date next to it by which you have to accomplish that activity. Now, you've got 12 priorities. You have a series of activities that are working on each priority. You got to read that every day. You got to read your priorities every day. Those activities leading to the success of those priorities become your core schedule. That's what you live off every day. It's not your to-do list. It's not your delegation list. It's the core schedule that you stay focused on. And the most successful leaders I know are the ones who can stay focused on what's most important. Don't get sucked into doing stuff that's unimportant, right? Stephen Covey wrote a really good book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He talked about, he broke it out into 4 quadrants. The quadrant you have to spend time on is quadrant 2 in his book, which is doing the important, not the urgent. If you get kind of conned into doing the urgent all the time, you don't get to the important. And the important is what drives your life. It's what the most important things are. If you're someone who can always work on the most important things, that's great. So what happens when somebody comes in and, wants to see it? You all have open door policies? I do too. People always walk through the door. They always want you. You always want to respond because it makes your ego feel good because you get to make decisions. I'm the CEO, I get to make decisions, right? And we get to coach others and we get to do all that stuff. And you got to be careful about that because if you're not too careful, you're going to find a lot of people coming through your door and pretty soon you're simply acting on their agenda, right? Not your agenda. Stay focused on your agenda. So when the President of the United States became president, he was receiving 325 invitations per day for his time. Just think about that for a second. How many invitations you get today for your time? 1, 3, 5, not many. So you get 325 invitations per day. So I had a staff of 22. What do? We said no most of the time. You can't do that. So you can see 1/4 of 1% of all those invitations. And that got pretty boring after about 30 days. So I said, let's go up in the mountains, Camp David, and let's sit down and figure out with your senior team what kind of presidency you want to have. Let's decide what your priorities are. So we went up there, we used this exact same schedule that I just talked to you about. Deciding the highest priorities in each of the buckets. And then scheduling the time around those. And nothing else. We didn't deviate from that. And what happened at the end of his presidency, he had accomplished a lot. Just like at the end of your CEO time, you will have accomplished a lot. So think about your schedule. That's a very quick understanding of time management. We're teaching time management in the Global Leadership Conference. We're teaching time management in the regional leadership conferences, first one of which we just launched in Shanghai for EO 2 weeks ago. We're going into more detail, but that's the overview of it. Always work on the most important things. Always schedule around the most important things. Make sense? Okay. Let's move on. Commit to personal discipline. When you correct your mind, everything else falls in place. We are the totality of what we think. So our thoughts are really important because that's who we become. All right? That's who we become. Remember, words are who we want to be. Actions are who we are. People watch us in action, and they decide who we are. Not by what we say, by what we do. Okay? Next is live with purpose. Every day, personal vision statement. And all of you who have your personal vision statement for me, just stand up and read it. I'm sure you must all have one. If you don't have one, how do you know where you're going? You make it up day to day. Kind of keep it in your mind. Not one of you has a personal vision statement. Put it down to something to do. Write a personal vision statement. I told you what mine is. To improve the human condition everywhere I find it. So I can't walk by a homeless person. I can't ignore someone who's waiting on my table. I can't denigrate someone else because that's not improving the human condition. Okay, so that's mine. What's yours? Write a personal vision statement. So Jamie Gerson, who was, yes, Steve.
Warren, is that similar to Simon Sinek's The Why?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. It can be the same. I think a vision is broader than just the why. I think it's deeper and broader, but I think you can connect the two. Yeah, Sinek's done a good job with his book. I think it's helped a lot of people. So create that personal vision statement. I'm sure you have the family vision statement with you. I read ours. I'm sure you have yours in hand, right? You carry it with you probably. Where's your family going? Get it written. So I was doing a little consulting work with Jamie Gerson. Some of you may know Jamie Gerson from the Cincinnati chapter. He was chapter president, his wife Paula, sons Pete and Jack, really nice family. But there was a lot of tension between Paula and Jamie. And so I said, how about if you both go off and write your personal vision statements? A couple days later, they sent them to me for editing and comment. And I read those statements and it was unbelievable. They weren't even on the same planet. They weren't going to the same place. No wonder there was friction. They didn't see the world the same way. There was no reconciliation of where she was and where he was. That's pretty important to know, right? It'd be even better if you did it before you got married, right? But they were married. They're now divorced. They're both happier. The children are happier. The tension's gone. And they both found people with whom they're more compatible, okay? And have vision, common visions about where they're going. So it's really, it stands as an important statement. So I hope that you will take it seriously. Write a personal vision statement. Doesn't have to be long. This doesn't have to be a dissertation. Write something that's meaningful to you. Same thing with a family vision statement, just like we have, right? So we can talk to our children about decisions they're making and how it relates to where the family is going and see if there's a good fit. It's a way of having a discussion with the children. And then you've all read your value statement. I'm sure you probably are carrying those too. I know you're just shy and you don't want to stand up and read all this stuff to me, and I appreciate that because we have a limited amount of time. So we won't call on anybody, but have your value statement. We have our vision statement by our front door and our value statement by our back door. We have it carved in wood. There are 11 items on it, and so when one of our children bashes the other child over the head with a little toy truck, and they're upset and sort of, we can kind of go to the back door and we can pick out the right value and we can have a conversation about how you do this kind of stuff, right? So discipline doesn't seem to be a problem in our house. We didn't have a lot of disciplinary issues with our children, okay? All right, live with purpose. This is our family statement, right? This is what we believe. It was said by David O. McKay many years ago. He said, no success in life compensates for failure in the home. If we're working so hard to build our business that we're willing to sacrifice our spouse and our children in that process, I'm telling you, you're wrong. You're wrong. Family is the most important thing we have in life, and we have to sacrifice for it. We have to be dedicated to it. We have to be committed to it. And yeah, business is hard, and it does take time, and there's an ebb and flow, and there are times when we concentrate more on business, less on family, and other times more on family. But there's a rhythm and a flow to life. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life integration. I think it all flows together. And you got to find that rhythm and that pace that works for your family and for you as you build companies, as you take care of your responsibilities in the family and your relationships, and as you work in the community. All of it flows together, okay? Act with intent. Strategy's everything. If you get strategy wrong, no matter how hard you execute, you won't win the game. And I'd ask you, if the average text is being responded to in 30 seconds and the average email is being responded to in 2 minutes, when are you thinking about strategy? How much time every day do you give to strategy for your business? It's kind of like the vision statement and the family statement, right? Don't have one. So here's what I suggest. If you're responsible for your business as the CEO, then you're responsible for the strategy. That's your job. Okay? So every day you build into your core schedule specific time. So 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I shut my office door, I shut off all my technology, and I think only about strategy. Sometimes I engage other people in that discussion. Sometimes I'm reading research. Sometimes I'm doing it, but it always is about strategy. I'm spending 10 hours a week on strategy. How much time are you spending on strategy to build your business, to take it where you need to go? If you're not spending time on strategy and you're still claiming to be a CEO, I think you're in the wrong job. Okay? You've got to spend time on strategy, and you've got to get it right. It's a highly competitive world out there. So spending time on that's really critical, right? So life is not chance, it's premeditation. Great companies are built by design. Great families are built by design. Be someone who is comfortable in designing your life and then live out that design. Just like an architecture builds a building. An architect builds a building, okay? So strategies for life are really important. How do you have yours? For example, if I asked you, you have a leadership training program in your corporation, your company, probably, to grow leaders, right? Most of you have something like that. How many of you have a strategy to grow leadership in your family with your children? Okay, good. Most people haven't even thought about it. How do you teach? You have a financial strategy in your company, right? Strategic plan for finance. What's your financial strategy for your family? Paycheck to paycheck. Hope the deal works out. So they're just prudent things that we can be doing that really change the game. And you have the power to do that. Remember, mind, energy, and time you control. Clarity of vision, certainty of intent, power of your values, those 6 things, you control those things, you control the world. Use them to your advantage, leverage them, okay? Make conscious choices. Stephen Covey said there are 3 great moments of truth, remember? We talked about core values just a few minutes ago. The first is when you discover what your core values and beliefs are. The second is when you act on those core, or commit to those core beliefs and values. And the third is when you commit or act on those core values. So it's discovering them, committing to them, acting on them every day. All right, that's what makes you a powerful leader. Okay? The behavior is really critical. Decisions you can make once. I think there are a whole bunch of decisions. Remember I said earlier, life's pretty simple. There are a lot of decisions you just only have to make once. Okay? Marriage. When I knelt down at the University of Arizona as a 3rd-year student to the beautiful cheerleader that I was asking to marry me, I said, will you marry me? I was so lucky when she said yes. She had a lot of options, but she said yes. Okay? And then I said, I have a second question. I'm only going to be married once. How about you? She said, okay, I'm up for it. So we've never ever thought about divorce or talked about divorce. It's not an issue. Why? Because we took it off the table. It's a decision we made once. All right? I think you can do that about family as well. I think you can do it about alcohol and drugs. I don't think you have to decide tonight whether you're going to get drunk or not. I don't think you have to go to a party to decide whether you're going to drink coke or use cocaine or not, or smoke dope or what. Just decide what you're going to do for your life and then live to that decision. It just makes life so much easier. Either do it or don't do it, right? But don't quibble about it. Don't worry about it. Don't frame it every day. Don't get caught up in it, okay? Ethics and values are the same thing. Are you going to run an ethical business? Are you going to be an honest businessman or not? Please.
I still think life is just as easy as that.
Why?
You and your wife decided on that day that you're never going to get divorced.
That's right.
You decided that.
Right.
But, and it sounds like it worked out, but it could have been a different decision somewhere along the line, because you don't know what life is going to throw at you. That time when you're in the University of Arizona, do you?
Yeah, you pretty much do.
You do?
Yeah. I knew I was going to be married to her.
Okay.
That's a choice that I made. That's my choice.
Well, she had met somebody else along the way.
No chance you would meet somebody who's cool. I didn't have a lot of doubt about that one. You could have raised another issue, but that wasn't one.
But no, in all seriousness, I mean, maybe it's another topic aside from marriage, but we don't know what life is going to bring at us. I mean, we may decide one way, but tomorrow we wake up and it's all upside down.
And I respect and appreciate what you're saying. Okay, I just choose to live my life differently. There's certain beliefs and values that I hold dear that I will not compromise and I will not change. That's just the way it's going to be. It doesn't matter what comes after me in the world. Let me give you an example. When I was in the White House, I met a guy named King Fahd, who happened to be the ruling member of the family in Saudi Arabia. Subsequent to leaving the White House, I owned a little shipbuilding company. And we sold boats to countries around the world. It was a nice little company, $10 million in revenue, doing $1 million net after tax. And I got a call from the royal family in Saudi, said they wanted some of our boats. In fact, they wanted a lot of our boats. They wanted $200 million worth of our boats, which for a $10 million company is a reasonable size order. Okay? And as always in doing business in Saudi and some other Middle Eastern countries, there's always an agent of the royal family, a niece or a nephew, that arranges the appointment and then gets paid a large sum of money for doing so. Okay? In the United States, we have laws against that. You can't do that. So the nephew in this case wanted a $6 million fee for a $200 million order. And I'm not very smart, and I don't do math very well, but you figure out that was a pretty good deal. To pay $6 million to get $200 million, right? But it was against the law. Ethics, values, and beliefs. I wasn't going to break the law. Okay? So we stewed over that one because this is going to make our company. And finally, we went back to the nephew and we said, "Well, we really would like to do the order, but we aren't going to pay you." Well, he was fuming. He was really upset. So he went back to King Fahd and told him the story that he wasn't going to get paid. Went dead silence for 2 months. Got a call one day from King Fahd. He said, "I remember meeting you at the White House. We had a nice talk." I said, "Yes, we did." He said, "I understand you don't want to pay our nephew $6 million fee. That's standard procedure here for the royal family and for our country." I said, "I understand that. We can't do that. We're not going to do it." Long pause. He said, "Great. We like your votes. We'll take the order." I think you got to have beliefs and values that you're willing to stand for under any circumstance. And we were prepared to lose a $200 million order. All we had to do was through a third party offshore, boom, get $6 million in there. Could have happened. We weren't going to do that. That's just what our belief is. You can have a different belief. All of you can have a different belief. I believe that great leaders are defined by their ethics and values. I just believe they are. And the people that I've known in high positions who have a chance to cheat and compromise, in the end, in tough decisions, don't cheat and compromise.
That's stuff you can control, right? In business, you can refuse an order, you can take an order, you can
Okay.
move on, right?
Give me another example.
I mean,
Other than my wife could have found somebody else. Okay?
abusive relationship. Wake up the next day and a hurricane has blown over and has destroyed your property. I mean, wake up another day and you're sick with a terminal disease. I mean, there's many things that change people's lives, right? I mean, there's a huge number of those that are beyond our control. An order is something you could control.
Okay, but none of the things you just mentioned affect my beliefs and values. Hurricane can destroy everything. Fine, I just work hard to rebuild it. I can get a terminal illness. Okay, I die.
Right, but we started off with a question of you telling your wife that on that day that we're not going to get divorced.
We're not going to get divorced because my marriage was not was not subject to situations and circumstances. It was a full-time commitment for the rest of my life. That's my belief. I'm not asking you to have my belief. I'm just saying there are some things we can decide once. Okay? Marriage for me was one of those. It may not be for all of you. It was for me. Okay? You know what? Because when I took that off the table, we never had to have a discussion like that. I've never raised my voice to her. She's never raised her voice to me. We have a great relationship. That's okay with me.
I do believe if you ask anybody who's gotten married and was divorced later, they thought the same thing. They only get married once when they're on that knee.
And I know some people who get married as an experiment and are flexible. If something younger, more beautiful, and stronger comes along. And I've seen it happen, and all of you as EOers have seen it happen. Okay? So we can respectfully agree to disagree on the subject. I'm just saying there are basic values in one's life that should be fixed. and should not be deviated from. And people will learn to define you as a leader by what those are. And if I bend and move and change with every situation and every experience, then I'm not sure what kind of leader I am. That's just me.
Here's another example. So, well, let's say it's your business partner that ended up betraying you.
Yes.
So, you want to go in business with this guy. I don't know all the background circumstances, but you were friends from high school, whatnot. You say, you know what, let's go into business together. You trust me, I trust you. I'll put in this much, you put in this much. We'll agree we'll be in business forever because we trust each other. We're school friends. And you're not going to screw me, I'm not going to screw you. So you set that expectation straight up.
Right.
And then you go down the line, you find out later you stole $80,000 from me.
Right.
Well, this is something you couldn't predict. It's outside of your control because there's things you can control, there's things you can't.
Right.
So he does this, but now all of a sudden this has been fractured. So is it how you navigate the course based on that circumstance, and that's what it is, and you're still adhering to your core values?
Yeah, it didn't change, again, it didn't change my beliefs. I was the honest partner. He changed. That's his problem. He has to suffer the consequences of that. I didn't change. I was going to be honest and ethical with any of my partners.
Let me ask you a different question. What would you say is...
Okay, we only get 20 questions. And then we got to move on.
My second question.
You're gonna, I know by the end of the day, you'll convince me to be flexible on my core beliefs and values.
Here's the big question. What would you attribute to the success of your marriage, the long-lasting marriage?
That's the key question. That's the big question.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, what would I attribute to the success of the marriage?
The long-lasting marriage, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, first of all, there are a lot of things, right? But I would say to you, one is the commitment to be married and to stay married.
Yeah.
Through anything, through the tough times, the good. She's lived through me rolling the dice, failing, coming up, being successful.
Vision. How many buckets, or how many categories, and how do you live those ideals?
Let's have a sidebar conversation, because we're going to run out of time, and there are a couple things, but I'm happy to have the conversation with you. I'm just saying that among the many interesting leaders I've had a chance to know, including many EOers, those who are very comfortable with themselves and in their own skin and very happy and very successful tend to be those who have determined what their ethics and values are, and they live those ethics and values every day. That's my view. And in regard to my marriage, which is highly personal, and my wife would probably tell you a lot of different things about me than you want to know. I think in my case, in our case, it was simply a decision that we're going to be together forever. That's just it. We're not going to change, right? We're just not going to change. Now, that means that we grow differently, we grow at different rates, we grow apart, and there's an awful lot of stuff about, I hear from couples all the time, well, yes, but I'm growing at this rate, and she or he isn't growing, and we're growing apart, so I think you can exist on parallel paths and build a series of bridges that take care of everything, okay, if you really care about each other. So, that's just my view. So,
You can also help your partner grow with you.
absolutely. I mean, I think we have some, well, we can do a whole marriage seminar here, I think, and maybe help out, and we don't need to do that today. But I'm really respectful of your questions. Thank you very much. They're excellent questions, and I'm sure everybody's learned from that, so I appreciate that. But I will not change my core beliefs and values. There's a movie out called 127 Hours. Any of you have seen it? Yeah. Kind of an interesting movie, isn't it? Kind of a fun thing. And it's about this realization of what life's all about, right? It's this notion that young man, 21 years old, outdoorsman, Zion National Park, didn't tell his boss on his day off where he's going, didn't tell his girlfriend, didn't tell his parents, decided to go rappelling into the park, boom, boom. Was rappelling, something happened, and he ends up with his right arm pinned against the wall by a boulder, and he takes out of his backpack a knife, starts chipping away. He knows pretty soon that little pocket knife isn't going to get him out of there. He takes off his backpack, puts it on a boulder facing him. He's got a camera in there. He actually speaks to his parents and talks to his parents about kind of being stupid and arrogant and maybe not being the best son in the world, does the same thing with his girlfriend, does the same thing with his boss and so forth, but he's out there in the park and no one knows he's there. And his right arm is pinned against the wall by a boulder that probably weighs 5,000 pounds. And he's there. How long is 127 hours? 5.5 days. 5.5 days. There's a narrow opening. He can see the sun pass over 12 minutes a day. That's it. Okay? And he's just there. He had a little food in his backpack, but he's there for the duration. Finally, as he's weakening, he decides that there's only one way out. And what's that way? You got to cut your arm off, right? So he gets his little pocket knife out again. It's pretty dull, and he can get through the muscle pretty easily in the skin, but he gets to the bone, and he can't cut the bone with the knife. So how do you do it? You leverage your body weight to break your arm. So he broke his arm. He got through that, and then he had still had to get through the tendons and the nerves. And if any of you have ever had tendon damage or nerve damage, you have a sense of how difficult that is. I've had both. And boom, he cut his arm off. And when he fell back, his 127 hours had prepared him for a different life and a different way of thinking. He was a different human being at that point in time. He's written a good book. He'd be a great EO speaker for your chapter. But I hope that none of the things that we have to do in life have to be so dramatic. I hope we don't have to cut off our arm to realize what our lives are about. Okay? You know, stuff like that's just hard. Sometimes it takes a hit in the head, a cut off arm, or some stupid thing we've done to make us realize who we are and what we ought to be about in our lifetime. And sometimes we're just young and stupid. There are times when I was young and stupid. I did things I shouldn't have done, right? And I escaped. I've had 3 near-death experiences, and they're all pretty interesting, and you learn from each one. 2 airplane crashes, pretty interesting, pretty interesting. And I had sepsis, and 73% mortality rate in the first 24 hours. And I was on an airplane to Australia when it occurred. So we had some interesting experiences in life, right? So I worked at the White House, as you know, with President Ford, and we had tennis groups that played tennis all the time. Don Rumsfeld and President Ford on one side, George H.W. Bush and I on the other side, ferociously competitive. One day we were playing, Don Rumsfeld throws up a short lob. I drift back for the lob, I hit it with all my power. It went off my racket at a kind of strange angle, hit the President of the United States right in the diaphragm. He went down like a bull moose shot with a 30-06. He had boom. We rush over there, and I'm thinking to myself, I'd kill the President of the United States with a tennis ball. With a tennis ball. So we go over there, there's no vital signs, and he's just laying there. Pretty soon he starts coughing and spitting and wheezing, and we help him up, and the Secret Service are all around us, and you know, and finally he puts his arm around the Secret Service agent, points to me and said, kill him. I said, Mr. President, decisions can only be made once, okay? That's a life-ending decision, all right? So, James McGregor Byrne, if you want to read a great book on leadership, it's considered the book on leadership ever written. James McGregor Burns, the title of the book is Leadership. It talks about the difference between transactional and transformational leadership. Transactional leadership is the kind of things we do every day that make us stand out, that make us be a leader. Transformational leadership is to take that which lies unconscious in the human state and bring it to a conscious place. Can any of you think of great transformational leaders historically? Martin Luther King, Mandela, Churchill. Especially World War II was unbelievable. Yeah. Gandhi. Arthur Ashe in his own way, absolutely. I mean, a pioneer in many respects. Mother Teresa, yeah. We had a chance to work for 2 weeks in Mother Teresa's center when she was still alive. Unbelievable experience. I had a chance to meet Nelson Mandela. I came down, I was staying at the Hay Adams Hotel in Washington, D.C., across from the White House, and I came down one morning, I had an appointment at the White House, and I saw all these Secret Service guys around, and so I kind of peeked and looked, and there was Nelson Mandela sitting on a couch waiting for a car. And so I obviously, I'm bold, I just went up to him. Boldly go, right? So I went up to him, and Secret Service, boom, they shut everything down. I said, well, I'd like to see Mr. Mandela. He heard me say that, and he said, well, let him through. I got to sit on the couch with Nelson Mandela in the Hay Adams Hotel for an hour and talk with him. It was extraordinary. What a remarkable man. What a remarkable man, and a great leader. I think sometimes, and I talked about this with him. This is pages 82 and 83 in the book. If you don't read the whole book, it's pages 82 and 83, transformational leadership. The question is, are you transactional or transformational? What kind of leadership are you offering? Are you raising people up, motivating and inspiring them and bringing them to a different place in their lives? Or are you just pedestrian going about the same old things everybody does all the time? You acquire particular qualities by acting in a particular way. Okay? The last is being engaged in service that's above you, that's different than you. It's not yours, it's for somebody else. My belief, my core value is that life's not about me, it's about others. And if we accept the notion that life's really about others, what comes back to us is really interesting. Edwin Markham once said, there is a destiny that makes us sisters and brothers. No one goes through life alone. All that we give into the lives of others comes back into our own. The more we help others, it seems to be, the better we feel about ourselves, and the better and more good things that happen in our lives. Well, get engaged in service above self. And I would offer you this thought. We're living in a very difficult time in world history. There are a lot of challenges around the world. I think in this room, and among EOs worldwide, we hold the keys to build a better world. We hire people, give them jobs. With those jobs, they can sustain their families. Those families can be involved in communities, and they can help build communities. We're at the epicenter of building what great things there are in the world. And I'm hopeful that you'll accept the notion that you have this important role to play, not just in your business, but in your community, and beyond your community to your country. And I hope that you'll define a successful life as someone who spent time in both the public sector and the private sector. Do both. Understand both. Because everything that happens in the public center and public policy affects our business. Whether that's tax policy, it's currency, it's fiscal policy, monetary policy, whatever it happens to be, all that's important, okay? Now the concept I'd like you to remember in service is lift where you stand. It's the notion that we have the ability to elevate all of those around us with whom we have contact to a higher level. So when I checked out of the hotel this morning, I left a $20 bill, as I do in every hotel room every time I leave a hotel, with a handwritten note that said, "Thank you very much for making my stay comfortable," and I signed my name. On a couple of occasions, I've forgotten something in the room, I've come back and the person is standing there holding the note and the money. And I've asked them what's more important to them. What do you think? The note's always more important. Even though most people who make beds in hotel rooms are immigrants, or people who are entry-level position, just trying to get by, trying to make a living, second jobs for most of them. It's the notion that I respected them and the work that they had done that helps their self-esteem and helps them feel good about themselves. We need to be a respecter of persons everywhere and in all places. Elevate people to a higher level. Be that transformational leader. Do the small things. So tonight when you're out and about and somebody's waiting your table, right? Be gracious to them. Ask them what they're doing, why they're doing it. Show an interest. Be a respecter of persons. Very important to do. And pretty soon we'll elevate everybody around us every time. Whether it's walking into the convenience store, or it's somebody that's helping us with our car, or it's a colleague at work. Let's elevate people. Let's lift them to a higher position. When we do that, we change the world. There's a Manchu tribe in China that says these things. If you all have sat here today and just listened to me, you'll forget about 80% of what I said within 78 hours. Okay? But if you read it, read your notes that you've taken, this little discussion can go on for a long time. And you can remember a lot. But if you'll go out and do what I talked about, you'll actually understand what I'm saying. But only if you do it. Only if you do it. So when I was 19 years old, when I made my list, I was also in a philosophy class. And in that philosophy class, I read something that's been with me my entire life. It says, when once gone, there are 4 things that will never return in your lifetime. Think about that. You get one shot at these. Once gone, they'll never return in your lifetime. The sped arrow, the spoken word, the wasted second, and the neglected opportunity. Once gone, pass you forever. The sped arrow is the act of violence. That once you conduct an act of violence on somebody else, you can never, ever take it back. The spoken word is that which you say in anger to someone who indelibly, it's imprinted upon their heart and it hurts their heart. And no matter how much you apologize, those words are still there. And they always will be. The wasted second is the 86,000 seconds we have every day that are just frivolously used, when we can be more efficient and more effective and specifically get more done that's important. And the neglected opportunity is the fact that when we stop learning, we stop growing. So when the door of opportunity knocks and it swings open, we don't recognize it because we haven't prepared for it. Preparation is essential to everything that we do. Continuous learning is important in all that we do. As we close today, I want you to watch my favorite video because it's so instructive to me and so teaches me so much. And I hope that you'll enjoy it. And then I'll make 1 or 2 concluding statements and then we'll close. Maybe we'll have time for questions.
takes me on to more than I can be.
You and I are brothers and sisters here on planet Earth at this moment in time to do great things. We have been placed here to be successful, to be remarkable and extraordinary. Don't fall short. You have the power to change the world, the power to change the lives of your employees, the power to change your communities. If you give it your best effort, if you'll continue to move forward, be the best human being you can be, then we will have met the challenge of finishing the race and finishing our journey. Thank you very much. I have time for two more questions if you'd like, and it's been a long 3 days, and I know you got a lot of stuff in this big party tonight. I wish I could join you, but I've got this family vacation starting tomorrow.
You came into massive fanfare, I can now see why. I think you're on a pretty high level. So my question is, when are you going to write or finish your book or create your course so that you can improve the human condition when you're gone?
Good question. I'm about a third of the way through 2 books right now. They'll be done by the end of the year. So yeah, I'm working on that. And I resisted write books because I'm more interested in the interface and more interested in the action and so forth. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yes?
You referenced a lot about purpose. Any expansion you can give us on how do we find the purpose in our company? Were there drills books? How did you identify purpose in all of these companies?
Yeah, I think every company has to find its purpose. And they're all different, right? We've been manufacturing, we've manufactured boats and ships and stuff like that. Been in the airline business, financial services, healthcare. And I think that's one part of discovery. And I know Cam talked earlier about the leader or the CEO presenting, the mission or the vision. I happen to like to do that through collaboration and consensus. And I like to have others involved in the room with me when we decide that together. Now, I can have a strong influence in that process, but I really want champions in the organization who go out, who are believers in that, and by participating in that purpose definition, they tend to become the champions and for the organization and go out and sell it. I think that's really helpful and very important. If I'm just a founder and I say, here's our vision and we're marching to this vision and so forth, as Cam said, you're going to get some people who buy into that and some people who don't, right? I try to bring everybody together around that, and we've been successful in doing that. And it's not easy to find purpose in every organization. I think sometimes it's difficult, but we've been okay with doing that, and it's worked out pretty well. And I think it's the same way you finding yourself, right? Finding your own purpose. I think each of us has to have that purpose as well. Please.
You talked about bringing some leadership skills in the family, and we try to instill that in our kids. They're 11 and 9, almost over 9.
Right.
And I get they'll actually say, we're only 10 years old. We're not your employees.
Yeah. Well, it shows how smart they are.
Yeah, you're right. I guess my question is, when you've gone through and done that, was it met with resistance? Did they obviously, I can see that it's changing the way they are tackling life when they are becoming better leaders, but I'm having a tough time when they do resist a lot.
Yeah, I think I think sometimes leading is really subtle, right, and nuanced, and getting children to engage is really interesting. As I said, we've got 60 acres and 100 animals to take care of, right? And so when our 7 children were growing up, we had 2 lists on the refrigerator. The first list was to say, to be a Rustand, here's what you have to do. When the kids were really little, it said, pick up your toys. They got a lower was pick up your toys, make your bed. We got a lower pick up your toys, make your bed, and do your laundry. So it's a progressive list as they grow, right? So they learn responsibilities early. My responsibility, I vacuum all the carpeting, wash all the windows, and wash the dishes after every meal. That's just what I've done forever. That's just my deal, okay? And so I think you teach them responsibility early. And then we have another list on there that says incentive compensation. And it has a list of things to be done, a job to do, the date by which it has to be done, the amount of money we're willing to pay to have it done, and the signature of either my wife or myself signing off that it was a good job. By the time our kids are 10 or 11 or 12, they have thousands of dollars in the bank. They like to work. And then when they get money, what do you do when the kids have money? We tell them, sure, money, you can spend it any way you want to. But if you want to save it in the family bank, the Rustand family bank, we give them checks with their name on it, deposit slips. They get a printout every month. And they deposit it because, why? Because mom and dad are not very smart. They pay interest for saving. So they've earned it. Now they get 6% for saving, okay? And then as they get into their teens, we say, you know, if you were to commingle some funds, you could buy chickens and goats and pigs and horses and stuff and raise them up and pay us for the cost of the feed, and you keep the margin, and it's all about that stuff, right? Teaching different things. And, or you can invest in stocks and bonds and real estate. And if they have to buy something really big that they can't afford, like a computer, we introduce them to a concept called joint venture, where the parents pay half or they pay half. Now, when we want to see their computer, they can't really say no because we don't have it. So there are a whole bunch of ways you can be subtle about it. Now, teaching leadership, what we do is we create work teams. And on those work teams, we'll have different age children or grandchildren. And we'll have them about 4 or 5 times a year, and I'll buy t-shirts and gloves and hats. We'll do it on a Saturday probably. And every team has a certain amount of work to do. And they have a team captain. Sometimes that team captain will be a young child with older children, teaching younger to lead older. And sometimes it'll be an older child, right, with others, leading adults perhaps. But it's this whole notion of giving them responsibility and accountability at an early age. And if you're giving out allowance, if you're just, when your child comes to you and says, I need $50 to go to the movie tonight, or I need $100 because I have a date, and you give them the money, I think you're going the wrong way. How many of you get paid for doing nothing? Not one of you. Why would you pay your children for doing nothing? That's called welfare. It's called welfare, okay? Don't ever introduce that concept. Have your children work. Whether you live in a condominium in town, in an urban environment, or we have a ranch in the middle of the city. You got cars to wash, you got plants to grow, you've got floors to scrub, you've got toilets to clean, you've got a host of things that you could put a monetary value on and your kids can earn money. And I'll tell you what, the self-esteem just shoots through the roof when they're earning their money and control their money rather than getting it as a gift. It's just a different way of thinking, that's all. And I think we can do that kind of stuff on a regular basis. So we teach kids how to work, to save, to earn, and to invest. When our children leave the house at 18 years of age, they don't have financial problems. So what's happened to our 7 children? I have a presentation called High Performance Families, and we actually talk about the principles about how to instill in families high performance. And part of that is our family is we have 4 CEOs, all of whom qualify for YPO and WPO, and YPO and EO, and we've got 3 All-American athletes, and we have 2 professional athletes. And every single child was an honor student and went to great universities. So we think they're doing okay. We think they're doing okay. And it's all based on principles and values. Even those that you think ought to be experiential and situational, we think they're more firm than that. Okay?
Had to go back in there.
Yeah, I had to go back in. It's always unfair when you have the microphone. It's just unfair. I'm sorry. Steve?
Warren, I've seen you a couple times in Denver, and I've seen parts of this presentation. I've seen that video before where the father comes out of the stands. I noticed at the end you were tearing up on that, and I'm curious what triggered that, because throughout this afternoon there's been a lot of tough questions that people have asked of you, and you've been pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
And then I saw an emotional side. I'm curious what happened.
Yeah, my dad didn't live long enough to see my success or to be a part of it as a mentor or coach, and I miss him. Sorry. I tell our children now, never apologize for emotion. It's who we are. It's just who we are. Jacqueline, I didn't call on you, and I know that you have done some of the things we're talking about. If you want to make any comments or observations, I'm happy to have it.
we're all pretty emotional right now. So you've done an outstanding job. We're all here pretty much speechless.
I love you guys to death. I mean, you're just doing the stuff that's so important. You know, running these companies, raising families and kids. You know, just do it to the best of your ability. But don't sacrifice the human part of the equation to make money. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. All right? Honor your children, honor your spouses, honor your partners. Be good citizens. When you do that, the world looks pretty good.